Hello and welcome everyone to the NUEL Varsity Split. Very excited to be back here. I am Dan Takogormo and I'm joined by the lovely Callum Melvin Isles tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. All the League of Legends around the world is starting to ramp up again, and it's only about time that we get some new goodness in our lives.
Absolutely, and hopefully we have some amazing games for you guys tonight. Of course, we are now in the Varsity Split of the Championship, so we have 12 teams competing at a much higher level, and today we have two matches for you between... First one we have is LSE Leviathans versus ICL, so it's the Imperial Apes, and then for the second match we have Deus Ex versus Roehamption.
Finalists, both of those two teams of the second game are 3-0 currently, so fingers crossed, not necessarily for their opposition, we'll have them both coming into the next match 4-0, and then, well, that's the point where we start talking about title narratives and whatnot, but that is for later. Right now, we've got two 2-1 teams that you have made me more than abundantly aware have got their little own internal rivalry going.
Yeah, definitely. So we have two London unis for you tonight between London School of Economics and Imperial College London. So both these teams know each other relatively well, and there's a slight rivalry going.
Thing is, when you have two teams that frequently play games and scrim is another important one, then we're likely to get weirder drafts because you're used to what kind of matchups you get in lane. It's like, oh, we don't necessarily want their top laner getting their Shen or their Ornn, these kind of champions. Let's get rid of that. We already know it in the first phase. So once we get into that draft, expect some shenanigans. It's going to be looking weird from the output.
Yeah, definitely will be looking weird. As for expectations coming into the game, there are a lot of differences between the two teams, in particular with where the players are. LSE have a lot of players that necessarily have much experience in the role, whereas ICL has a much more, let's say, holistically experienced lineup.
And I think that the best way we could epitomize that is both teams are abundantly aware of this. Born This Way for LSE Leviathans in the jungle is their key player. Both teams are plenty aware of it, and both teams will be working to exploit that one way or the other. This player is currently playing in the NLC Div 2. They're pretty damn good. They play on Rate Gaming. They're not doing the best as a squad, but they are on the upswing. And this player is great for the pop-off moments. They have the champions to facilitate it, and when you are that kind of highlight player in the university scene, this is where you need to be leaving your mark on every single game.
That is exactly what hopefully Imperial will try to do, is target that jungle and pin them down. Because on the whole, they have a better team there, so maybe you can sort of put the resources into that area, shut that down, and that's probably your win condition. But something else Imperial really like to play around is their bot lane.
And I think we should acknowledge some of the particularly unique champions down there. You'll know this name if you've been watching NUEL for a while. We've got Lucky Zhu in the ADC role. They've got their signature Sivir, challenger player level on this champion. Something that I imagine that we've seen, at least in the scrims behind the scene. These two teams have probably played this Sivir matchup over and over again. It's going to be their comfort. It's something that if we see show up in the pick and ban, or I suppose better said, if we see it in the ban or the pick respectively, will really go to show how confident Imperial Apes are coming into this game.
And of course, he has already played this in the first round of Varsity, picking up some wins on that one, so either expecting it to be banned or be picked in the right spots, of course. But outside of that, there are a few other things, which is we are playing on a new patch today, which has just been released. There are a few changes. I think the main takeaway is the Enchanter top nerfs and the Zeri nerfs.
Yeah, Zeri getting pretty much toned down across the board, but as you were telling me earlier, the Freak rundown where he goes through every single number and makes it actually readable to normal human beings. Crit build, by the sounds of it, 2 items onwards, looks to be doing better for raw DPS. Zeri previously going for that Triforce Runans with the Titanic kind of build. Again, it literally came out today, this patch, so who knows if these ADCs, both of which have a bit of Zeri experience on the match history, will actually want to go towards that, or if it's a bit too much of, maybe we're not going to be risking that. Yeah, she was super high priority, but teams have already found answers for it. Might just be one of those that they decide isn't worth the woes or the potential flipping of the first game of the day.
Absolutely that. As for the rest of the patch, there isn't anything too significant. Maybe, I mean, there's a minor Alawi buff, but I don't really expect to have that coming out today. Outside of that, that's pretty much it. We're just looking to get in the game, still waiting on a few things between Champ Select, but hopefully should be an exciting one. We are just going to show the standings. Of course, you can see all of the teams currently, and yes, there are multiple teams with 2 wins at the moment, and later we will have that 3-0 contest, maybe 4-0 going into it later.
And I'm very excited because we're actually looking at, turns out, that Roehampton have actually played against both of the teams in our first game today, and it is actually both of their only loss. So when it starts getting up there in the tiebreaker kind of situations later on into the split, it's going to be very important if you have the head-to-head against your pretty much equal competition.
And definitely stay tuned later because we might get to see a taste of exactly how Roehampton have been getting those wins. Because, I mean, 2-1 is good in the standings, and depending on how this game goes, we might have some context around how well Roehampton are performing at the moment.
And just to, again, give a little bit of that glimpse into the matchup later, we looked at the teams that both of them have beaten, Deus Ex and Roehampton. No overlap whatsoever. Even after the first round today, where they have their own individual matchups, they will not have any overlap in the match history. So the power level for Deus Ex and Roehampton really up in the air. Yeah, they're both going to be 3-0, maybe 4-0 kind of teams coming into it, but we don't actually know until we get a show.
And I have just been noted that we are actually going to have a sub for the support of the LSE Leviathan. So instead of Tag Zedif, who is normally on the lineup and you might have seen before at some point in the broadcast, we will have Oxbridge Reject, who has previously played autofilled again in mid for the team too. So, I mean, I guess he's just able to play every role, clearly.
A player that I've definitely heard the name of year in, year out for the NUEL, so it's not exactly an unfamiliar person to be in this kind of position. I'm quickly glimpsing at their OPGG right now, just to recap for ourselves. Seems to be a bit of a primarily engaged support player with that Nautilus and Leona at the top. Have got some experience on the Enchanters. The only thing of note that I will say, though, is that they have recently played a Nico support game, and we're looking at Nico in the patch notes and saying, kind of funky. She got some pretty good number buffs for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, well, we're definitely a few things on that one. So Nico has been toned up a little. Maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't, maybe we'll get banned out, because at the end of the day, both these teams do kind of have an idea of what each team wants to do.
Yeah, and when you have got that kind of deeper understanding of the opposition, the kind of like the G2 Fnatic long-term rivalries over the years, when you know exactly how the opposition wants to try and play the game, it means that you need to be playing on a next level. You need to be thinking a lot more conceptual, because you can't just go for the raw out-stat check kind of beat the enemy in lane, win game off of that. And that's actually one of the things that Imperial Apes was telling us, that they like to show their skill in lane. This is where the team really thrives. And considering, we're going about 8 levels deep into the Matrix here, but in all theory, LSE should be completely aware of that and could just pick safer lane matchups, avoid any kind of flipping, and just set up for Bournless way to go off on one.
But at the end of the day, you have to realize as well, and take this into account, is that, well, you have a mid player, or should I say not really a mid player on LSE, again, another AD main normally that is now playing mid, and the same goes with Oxford Reject, which is another AD player playing support.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great when you say it like that. Double autofill is not exactly how you want to be trying to win the game, so in all theory, I think we could pretty much set our expectations solely on Imperial Apes to come out on top in this one. Now, again, we'll see that how it unwinds in the draft, but just to give you a quick glimpse at our format, we do have the top 6 teams going into playoffs, and then the 7th and 8th will play against the top 2 teams from the open bracket that is taking place at the same time, with those ones qualifying up into that 18 bracket by the end of it.
And it is also worth noting that there is a lot of things on the line that these teams really want to compete for, because at NUEL we have some amazing prizes which have been brought to the players as an opportunity to potentially win, which is, of course, the big ones are the UEM qualifier. You get a chance, you get a shot at potentially representing the country to UEM, which is the big European championship with all the universities, and also a potential trip to the LEC, COVID provided.
Which, is a pretty damn cool experience for all intents and purposes. I've always thought that was a rather wicked prize on all scale of things to be able to get. So, gotta keep our eyes peeled by the end of the split, as I believe we're about to get ready. We can see the rosters now. with that amendment coming in with Oxford Reject playing the support role for LSE. Overall, definitely going to be some familiar players for the long-term NUEL fans.
Certainly. Some familiar faces here, and hopefully we'll see how that goes in lobby. Still a few things left to get sorted out. I mean, some banger matchups.
So, since we've got a little bit of time, how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing alright. Kind of just getting going. You know, I got my ID back. So
Oh yes, you said that you lost that the other day. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've got it back now, which is nice. Don't have to worry about that, so that's good.
Longest streak I ever went on without a uni ID was a year and a half. Admittedly, it was during lockdown, so I was at home and didn't need the ID, but the issue was when I went back up to uni, which is a 3.5 hour drive, I didn't bring my ID because I forgot it. So I was just standing outside of buildings, lurking, waiting for somebody to walk in so I could get through all of the auto-lock doors.
Yeah, it is. It can be like that sometimes, a little bit of an inconvenience, but you know, you move on and you get on with things, and I guess
I
we're gonna
couldn't
move
move
on.
on. I stood still.
Yeah. I guess there is that. You know, sometimes standing still could be it. Maybe you
You gonna say
realize
it could be perceived as moved on?
something. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's something proverbial behind it, like a deeper meaning between standing still in your life.
I got nothing. I got nothing. I'm not a deep, heavy thinker, you know, there's the philosophy side of the game and all that kind of stuff, but fortunately, we don't need to think about any of that because we get to go to my favourite part of the game, and that is the draft. As we are kicking it off, we've got a lot of the heavy priority champions nerfed over the past two patches. Corki, Caitlyn both knocked down on the 12.3, we are on 12.4 now, and Zeri has once again been pushed down. So it is going to be, I think, a heavy focus on the pocket picks this game. Time to see where they focus that, and it will be the Lucky Ju Sivir removed instantly.
You just can't let him have this champion. Over 150 games played. This season on Sivir, this man is in Challenger. That is a lot of Sivir, and when you have that level of comfort and proficiency, I think you gotta respect it, as with the Lee Sin for Born This Way.
It's one of those champions that you can make such a ridiculous gap. It is probably the champion that scales with player skill the best. There's a reason that it's one of those ones that has multiple world skins, and when you look over to worlds, there's the who's the best jungler, but also who's the best Lee Sin competition, as we actually get Thresh coming out, alright, right here from LSE, trying to remove a bit of that safety in the bottom lane. It is the most played champion from ICL, at least their most notorious one in the support role. And it's starting to show a bit of a focus coming out right here from LSE.
I mean, it's just comfort pick after comfort pick getting banned out this game. We've got the Shen here, and Nick has been so prolific on this champion, making weak side look like strong side. That is a quote from the team captain of LSE, and the Shen has been... Oh, LSE does love to have that to support the style of being able to utilize the mid jungle to play for bot.
And I think it makes a lot of sense removing this Shen because it also counters a lot of the champions we've seen coming out from Truman in the top lane. The Gnar, the Lucian find it really difficult to actually bully out the Shen with the ability to cancel out those auto attacks. Even then, the other bruisers like the Irelias and the Fioras after that, you just don't want to be playing this matchup. And so with that, finally getting rid of some mid laners actually on the last rotation there. The Arya and the Lissandra both getting knocked down. Really spread out draft from both of these teams so far. Let's find out where the actual pick priority is. All those former OPs are open right now. Not to mention the potential for maybe even top lane shenanigans. We do have a cinched hover. Okay.
Oh, looks like we'll probably get the Jinx instead. Jinx B1, very, very prolific and common currently within pretty much every league. I think she's the most played ADC in the world right now, and understandably so.
I believe she is, with also something like a 55% win rate in pro play, which is pretty bonkers when you hear it like that, considering we are only about 3 to 5 weeks into a lot of the major regions, as we do get the quick Nautilus Gwen lock-in. Now, Gwen is a flex pick right now between the top and the jungle, and we have seen both of these junglers actually pilot the champion to success just in this split alone, so I'm curious to see what Born This Way will take, considering that Gwen could get flexed away. The Akali, a very good pick into the Gwen in lane, but while there is this flex potential available, you don't really want to be showing your hand.
Okay, so it seems like the Akali is not actually an Akali. but rather a Gragas. So, not a Carly, we got a Gragas in the top lane, neutering that matchup, probably building the Fimbulwinter as well. Really, really tanky right now.
You know, that's a glow up by my standards, going from Akali to Gragas. I'm okay with that as the...
Where's the KDA Gragas skin? Come on.
Exactly. I'm still waiting for the, what is it, the Star Guardian Gragas? I mean, Urgot got Pajama Guardian, come on now. It's only a matter of time.
You need to share the love a little bit. Give Gragas the respect he deserves.
And they most definitely will be trying to earn that one, because it is likely going to be heading up into the top lane for Nick. Got that utility kind of playstyle of things like the Ornn, but keeps the draft open as a flex in of itself. So we do have both bot lanes now locked, signed, and sealed. I'm currently leaning over towards LSE, at least for just how these lanes should look right now.
Yeah, Nautilus and Ezreal probably just looking to play a little bit further back, provide the engaging team fights with the Nautilus, and then Ezreal being able to just do Ezreal things, stay back, poke using his Q, and then Arcane Shift away, as we have another pocket pick ban, and I'm wondering whether there'll be 10 bans directed towards pocket picks this game.
I would not be upset with that. I think that when there are no super OPs, I say that, each team has one in the form of the Jinx and the Gwen. When there's enough that you're happy to trade it back and forth, better said, then it makes more sense to remove the pocket picks, because at Pro, you would think that somebody was trolling if they left Jinx open, and what we've seen, most drafts have turned out to be the case. When Jinx is left open, it usually results in a loss. But nonetheless, when you're in this level of play, comfort is where it's at. If you are really proficient on a champion like the Akshan, like the even Akali to an extent, no, that's not Akali, but yeah, you get the point, then you can really press that advantage against players who do not have that same level of time to really grind out every single matchup.
And we just continue getting these jungle bans. There was also an Akshan on the other side. Not entirely sure where that one comes from, but as I say, these two teams have played internally, so there might be some sort of scrim knowledge going on there. But that Xin has been played by Born This Way in NLC Division 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they have, and I believe they actually just won on it in their previous game just yesterday, if my memory recalls. So, as we do have the Nart taken away now, that is a champion that Truman likes to play. Okay, I didn't think we'd talk about Zeri until the second game, because his champion has been played in roles other than ADC. We've seen it in LEC in the mid lane, piloted by Nuke Duck to a victory. Can also be played in top lane, but with a lot of the nerfs that came through on this patch, I'm just biding my time, because that doesn't really, that doesn't bode well for me, as we'll get the Ornn.
Yeah, I get the Ornn. A nice takeaway from Nick as well, and something stalwart in the top lane to just sit there and be okay. I mean, obviously Nick did lock in the Gragas, but that can still get pivoted towards the jungle, if that's something that Born This Way does want to play, and honestly, it's just tank versus top, most likely in the top side.
And that does lock in the Gwen for jungle unless you're getting really wacky and sending one of those two mid. So it means that Born This Way should be able to get the counter pick of their choice, as we actually just get a straight up Kassadin lock-in. We haven't been told that's a proxy pick, so it sounds like it will actually just be a blind Kassadin picked up right here for Hehe, as I'm actually getting a TFT pop-up right now on my screen in draft. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, Riot Client always has some surprises out there. It's a wonderfully designed thing. Riot, my favourite company. And we do get a Teemo locked in, but it's not a Teemo, it's a Graves, which Born This Way is played, but I guess we'll see whether it is Gragas top and Graves jungle, which is what I would expect, but we'll see when the draft is remade whether it will be that way around or vice versa.
I did a little bit of snooping actually while you're talking about that Akshan ban, and it is for the mid lane right there. We have Astromanon, who has got their most two-played champions as the Akshan and the Kiana. Looks like we will not be getting that, as there's a lot of champions being hovered. We'll find out if that's a proxy pick or if that is actually a Vel'Koz. The draft's going to need to get remade anyway to get rid of some of those filler picks, so we'll just have to give that a moment and we can give you the full picture then.
Absolutely, we'll just need to see the positions, everything else, but two very unusual drafts. I mean, it's always at this level that you need to highlight the fact that it's not always going to be OPs. There is this pocket pick priority, and there's a reason for that. But we did get 10 pocket pick pans, basically.
Yeah, which, you know, is exactly what I like to see, because it's showing respect for your opponent as opposed to respect for the meta. And especially when a lot of the OPs have just been nerfed, not exactly to oblivion, but at least nerfed to the point where people are comfortable playing against them. It is the right way to go for my money. And let's start talking about some of those potential matchups. By the looks of things, should mean we're getting Gragas versus Ornn in the top lane. And at least looking up into that one, we do have Truman getting the Ornn what they want, at least as a counter pick. Now, logistically, you get to do max health damage, which is nice, but Gragas can try and sustain out of that lane. So I'm going to say it's going to be a bit more of a skill matchup because Truman can't really lock up Nick, and as long as Nick doesn't want to fight, they can both just keep scaling for Fimbulwinter.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Okay, so we have just heard from production that we do actually have a proxy in that Vel'Koz. That Vel'Koz is not a Vel'Koz, it is a Zilean. As a Zilean mid, and oh boy, there's been a lot of Zilean mid recently.
I remember what that was actually being played into now. Tick, tick,
Kassadin.
tick, let the cogs going. Okay, so Kassadin. So that is going to be a hard just ignore the lane and both teams go for scaling. I don't think either of those junglers really want to be looking mid at any given point, with the Gwen Zillion being a pretty scary combo and one that actually I thought we were going to be seeing later on in the day, piloted 2 out of 3 times, over by the Deus Ex squad. So it's something that we are going to need to see how effective it actually is. I can't imagine it is bad in any way, shape, or form because you get to hyper speed up your Gwen, chuck some bombs on them for the CC to go with it, and then give them a revive. Oh god, it scares me just talking about it.
Absolutely does, and we'll probably bully out the Kassadin in early lane as well. We've got some ticking clocks on each side, you know, waiting for that Kassadin level 16 on one end, and then speeding up the Gwen to double move speed on the other side. But looks like it will be confirmed as the Gragas Ornn, so junglers, Gwen versus Graves. How do you think that one goes?
So, the Graves is a champion that can get up in melee range with the Gwen, so you won't really get too many big outplays with the Hallowed Mist, which is okay for Born this way. I expect them to be likely going towards this Eclipse into the kind of like the Akshan build for all intents and purposes, where you get the double lethality items, the Collector, and then the Armor Pen from Lord Dominik's, depending on the enemy build with an IE at the end of it. Results in a lot of burst damage, but it does mean that against champions like the Zilean, you can kind of get outdone, because if you one-shot somebody but they have time to get rezzed, you really do hit hard, but only briefly. So it's going to be something that we'll need to keep an eye on, and I like that conceptually as a way to try and lock up Born this way by almost expending their time as the main resource.
Yeah, time is of big importance here. It does seem like both teams have some pretty large scaling tools, so maybe whichever team can get accelerated more quickly than the other might be in an advantageous position. But at the end of the day, it does come down to execution. And at least for me, I feel like the execution is slightly easier on the side of ICL.
That's a tough one for me,
It
because
is hard.
neither team really has consistent engage, right? I would say there probably does lean over to ICL, with the Ornn and the Nautilus being more reliable point and click and then a lot longer range, with the Gragas and the Leona being a bit easier to dodge considering you have the speed booster, the Zilean, the Ezreal ability to dodge out, and the Gwen being Gwen, who is immune by the way. I feel like, yeah, I'm actually going to lean with you there. I think ICL have an easier draft to execute. However, I think in the late game, side laning becomes something that can be a bit of a nuisance, because you can have the Kassadin and the Graves as your side laners, and no real second answer for the ICL squad.
Yeah, you have a Gwen. Ornn can kind of do it, but he can't really threaten very easily, so you should definitely see how that one plays out. If the money does end up going on the Graves and the Kassadin, then it may end up being a problem. But objectives and early phases of the game are generally how those leads develop, and I'm not sure about the game plan. Are you?
I'm going to say that the LSE bot lane should have the advantage here, just because the Jinx has a bit better skirmishing early on than the Ezreal, and the Leona is a favourable matchup into the Nautilus. So in theory, these two should be able to get the advantage. Jinx a bit better at pushing the wave as well, should give a bit more control over to Born this way, and then looking for those early dragons, which I think is going to be really important for LSE. Because when you have a team who is, I'm not going to say carried by a single player, obviously everybody has to pull their own weight, but when you have a team that has a very defined strength, you need to be kind of disseminating that through the rest of the game and getting all of your other players ahead. Otherwise, it provides a very obvious window for this Nautilus press R on Graves, this Zilean follow up with Everfrost into stun, on Alt the Graves. You know, it's a very cut and dry technique. If they cannot use this early lead that they should be able to get through the bot lane, and then spread it elsewhere.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely be looking to see whether the team can leverage that at the start of the game. But there's all sorts of shenanigans that could happen on the Rift. I mean, you could get a level 1 fight. You know, if you get someone caught out in a jungle, could be 4 kills at level 1. I mean, we see it in the LPL sometimes, so maybe we can get some blood for the Blood God today in the NUEL games, but only time will tell.
When is Uzi playing, by the way? That's the only question I have.
That is a very good question. Although, I will say that Doggo is performing relatively well.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think he's performing pretty good. I know people are saying where is Uzi, but why is Uzi? Doggo is looking kind of dirty. Just to go on a little bit of a pro play side tangent, I think that player has been really good for a while and is now getting to finally show themselves, not just on the international stage, and it is a delight to see.
Absolutely, there's a lot of exciting stuff going in around the world in terms of pro player. I mean, all sorts of. I feel like this season has had the most roster diversity or roster changes out of most of the seasons that I've actually watched for, because there's a lot of teams that have been dissolved.
There's a lot of big names that have shifted. I think in any off season where you have two of like the big names across the world, like when I'm saying that, you got the Bjergsen, the Perks, the Faker, and the Uzi. Basically, the fact that 3 of those shifted team in one off season, it really does make it feel just that little bit more definitive. It's like, I guess everything's different now. The Fire Nation has attacked.
Yep, and we are going to load onto the Rift shortly, just getting into the game now, and as always, we have to thank our wonderful sponsors who make this all possible, and that is, of course, Intel 12th generation with their amazing CPUs. Definitely worth checking those out, and Prime Amazon Student with the discounts for a few things. Check them out as well. Wonderful, wonderful things to be had for those. But another time on the Rift, and as far as I'm concerned, it's relatively standard for runes.
Yeah, everything across the board looking all good. As I'm now starting to realise that the Spectator client is actually a little bit different to the last time I used it. And it looks kind of good.
I see that. I see that. Got the objective
like
stuff in the top side. This is nice.
I can't.
I mean, they fixed the bugs now, hopefully.
Oh, don't even. Oh, no, you've asked for it.
Well, you know, sometimes it's like that, and sometimes it isn't. Because we had the for the people that don't know or haven't used Spectator recently, we had a few black screen bugs last week, which was exciting, very exciting for any broadcast to deal with.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, but most important part is that we are actually in the game. We get to watch League of Legends. It has been a little while. Eric's. Why did I speak?
That's the first caster curse for the day. Oh, wait. No, we're back.
Oh, okay.
You may have somehow uncursed yourself, as we get a little bit of trading from Born This Way onto the Gwen at the beginning of the game, warding out enemy jungle, and now we have the Spectator Classic where it goes back into this. Yep. It's going to be like this for a little while. Keep your seatbelts on, because we're still in for a ride.
This is safe. I feel safe knowing that we at least have the same bugs one way or the other. I know you were just saying that maybe they were fixed, but some things in this world are not destined to change, and the League of Legends Spectator client is most definitely very high up on that list.
I feel like it's just sort of a ritual for League players at this point that you kind of have to get used to these problems.
And I'm used to them. I'm ready. We're actually, by the sounds of it, able to start going again. I've had the game playing in the background, and so far, Sweet Diddly has happened. We've got a little bit of a dance-off in the top lane, as I believe we are ready to jump in.
Yeah, I think everything's okay at the moment.
Hooray! Again.
Wonderful.
Oh, okay, I've got something to talk about, and it is Truman doing a lovely little bit of Ornn technology that, for God's sake, why do I speak? Nonetheless,
wonderful.
We see they've got the refillable potion on the Ornn and nothing else. And that's because Ornn can obviously shop in lane as part of a passive. So this is something where you can opt to build things like the Tear, like the Doran Shield, etc. Even, well, no, that's actually it really. You only build one of them. As, oh boy, musical chairs, and the final seat will go over to League of Legends, finally. Oh, okay.
No, it's not.
I don't know why I wasn't ready for that. It happened seconds ago.
It happens every time. Every time there's a pause, it does this.
It's every time it happens, and every time I forget it's about to happen. It's like, yay! There's another box to open before I can get to the present.
It's that bit where you're ready for the action to happen, and you're on the edge of your seat. Like, imagine this pauses at a team fight, and you have that, and then you want to get back into it, but then suddenly, no, you have to wait 5 seconds. It's just really disappointing.
Fortunately, it happened right now, as opposed to any later point in the game, so we are okay for that. As we do get Gwen starting up on that red buff and looping around as if to go to Krugs, but instead going straight to these Raptors. That's curious, because it shows that they knew they were on the ward. Hold on.
A little bit of trading level 1 bot lane, nothing out of the ordinary. Just pretty normal there. Gwen is of course spotted out, they did have the ward on blue side, so they kind of have an idea of where this Gwen is going. But I'm not sure if they do know that the Gwen is pathing into their jungle.
No, I think this is really clever by Karma right there. Actually going around to look like they were doing the Krugs means they should be able to trade bot camps.
Hi-Hi taking a really bad trade here. The Zilean does not have the Ignite, still has the TP, but might be able to get it. Auto's on, I think. Yeah, Hi-Hi does have to burn the flash.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, both mid laners burning their flash in trade right there, meaning this Kassadin is a sitting duck for the Gwen if they ever push up in lane. And my little ring light that I've got going to try and make the camera look better to peek behind the screen was actually hiding the rune on the caster there. They have First Strike. As far as I'm aware, that is not the normal casting rune, more so the Conqueror.
Yep, that is a good point. I have just noticed that as well. Looking to make some extra money, and so is Born This Way going for the Zilean, but it will be the Gwen instead that is met in the river. Hi is here, and so is Nick. Let's see if they get it. Flash Body Slam, and that should be First Blood donated over to Born This Way 7.
I'd like to do a little bit of a throwback and say, what was that win com we were going for? Get Born This Way ahead and take that to the lanes. Well, what I'm seeing right now is a dead laner and money on the graves. So, good start right here for LSE.
Yeah, really good recognition there from Nick to realise, oh, there's a play going on river, let's pivot down. I'm going to bait the room, make the play of the body slam, and just props to LSE for burning the resources and making that lead. Slight lead, of course, in the early game, but nothing too spectacular.
And the smart pathing from Karma will mean that they don't lose out on too much CS in this exchange, able to path back over and collect their Krog camp. But overall, definitely going to be leaning over to LSE side at the end of it. So now, going to get a bit of a brief respite, I will say. Only real place there should be action is trading in the bottom lane. There's, funnily enough, a Zilean is really hard to gank. Oh,
let's get the thing. They will only tank the one tower shot, so should be fine. With Reject and LSE Dog getting a little bit low, but nothing should come from that as Truman gets a trade on top.
And they did get to walk back the lane after that fight because they crashed the top wave in. And while Nick was running over to get involved in the skirmish, we did see that Truman was able to pick up both the Doran's shield and the Tier now. As I say they went back to base, perhaps they just built with the Ornn passive. I didn't actually see it firsthand, as this should be a dead
Hi to hi as he gets bombed in the mid lane. Gwen running him down, and that's a kill in return for ICL.
It is most definitely free real estate. Funnily enough, you are a melee champion against Zilean with a high damage jungler. You are asking for that by staying there, as Nick is really low. Truman could have got that right there if they managed to get the
up 2 tower shots, but unfortunately a little bit overzealous in that trade as Ornn has enough health to live and get the return kill on the Gragas.
Alright, well I say could have got that. Clearly that was my fault for not just expecting Nick to go back in on that one. So they will be able to pick up the Lucidity boots, so should be looking to just continue to sustain up in this lane, but bit of a mistake right there has led it over 2 kills to the side of ICL. We do have Born This Way starting off the Dragon though. Stacking up those objectives will be really important for this game, like we said earlier. Just trying to get that lead from the Graves to spread across the map. As in this bottom lane, we do actually have Aftershock versus Glacial Augment. And while those are both standard rune choices, I feel like most engaged supports have been opting for the Glacial more so than the Aftershock recently. And by taking this one, IC Kenny is actually able to contest with the Leona in the early game, because without it herself, she is still not the tankiest champion in the world. That's why we've seen in this lane at the moment, the ICL bot lane has actually been able to get themselves off to quite a good lead, just pressure-wise.
Yeah, currently also at a slight CS lead. Well, of course, there is a slightly bigger wave on one side of the game there, so it's not too much of a lead at this point in the game, but the small things do count, and we'll see whether ICL might be able to stack a wave there and get the Gwen in, if possible. If that's something they want to do, they have the option to, they definitely can get the push here, as we do have another stack wave in the top side, but Gwen is warded out, I believe.
Yeah, they were spotted on that one, but will still be a plate going over to Truman, and they could potentially look for the dive. It is a level 6 Gragas, so I don't think that's a good idea. But if you're feeling yourself, then it's something that I could see them going for, just based on the confidence this team seems to have so far.
Yeah, we'll be spotted out by Nick. They're just going to clear out the vision, but really well played from both junglers here to recognize the pressure on the sides of the map and make the right pathing decisions. But outside of that, just kind of waiting for objectives to spawn. Rift Herald will be spawning in about a minute or so, so it will be likely that both teams look to make a play around it.
I think if it does end up being a fight, it will most definitely be in ICL's favor. Having the Zillion revive paired with this Gwen will be way too much for you to handle for the LSE Leviathans, unless they end up getting some kind of absurd pick that they would really have to be fishing for before it spawns. Ooh, will not deny that Siege minion though. Nice Q from the Caston.
Yeah, I mean, Caston not going to have the most fun time until he gets some levels and some items on his plate. And we've already seen it exploited by the Gwen, as Caston really looking to get a trade on here. Bazillion has ult. I don't really think it means anything. Rift walk back in. A lot of damage going down.
Using that Airy proc, one of the things that when you do have any kind of control mage and then you are against the melee champion, the Airy almost becomes your fourth ability for all intents and purposes, because you can just continue to trade heavily with those autos. And it does stick. That was part of the reason that we saw Hi die the first time around.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra damage, especially in the early game. And I mean, Astroman is just constantly interrupting this Caston's back, now having to burn a TP to get back to lane and catch this wave, which gives them priority for the Rift Herald.
We do have IC Kenny already walking over. Oxbridge Reject has not left base yet. They will be pathing over. Gonna be curious to see if this does result in a bigger scrap, but I think that it should die plenty of time on the table. Flashes are back up
Gonna flip it, just gonna get some poke damage off and TP out. Now, 3 members of LSE in. I'm actually not sure who secured the Rift Herald here, but Karma going down immediately. Now, Nick getting very low will burn the cask. ICL gonna die another time, but that is saved by the Zillion. But now, Truman in the middle of a few. Born this way going down on the other end. Icy Kenny, unfortunately, not landing the hook there on the wall to get himself out to safety. Truman probably gonna go down here. Yep, Leona stun. LSE Dog probably wants to pick it up. Donates it over to the ADC. There you go.
Oh, that's not what you want to be seeing for ICL. The Gwen does pick up the Herald, but like we were saying at the start, it okay. Hi. Shouldn't be allowed to do that, but knowing that the Zillion burned ult in that skirmish is going to make Insult go much further with injury at the end of that one. So, it's going to be exponentially in the favour of LSE for my opinion right there. Ezreal was only able to secure a couple plates on the bottom side, but it will be matched in the top lane. So, nicely done is going to actually just chuck it down and try and go for first blood tower down here.
It's an interesting location to drop it, but at the same time the Drake is spawning shortly, so maybe, you know, get some pressure down there and set up for that objective, as that's a lot of damage Caston's doing right now with those 2 kills.
Yeah, the thing is, you lock in the Zillion into the Caston and say, okay, we're just going to try and scale this lane. You're scaling against a Caston. That is a bit rough. Now, while I'm not going to say that it is necessarily a bad decision conceptually, you really do need to be getting a lot done with Karma on this Gwen early. And would I say they've done that? Not so much.
At the same time, you think that LSE does have the gold lead, but they do not at the moment. There's 700 gold in favour of the Imperial Apes at the moment, and that is mostly due to the fact that they did get that first blood tower in the bot side. A lot of gold over. Of course, LSE do have the Drake, so, you know, 500 gold at this point in the game doesn't mean too much.
Pretty negligible. It's just about seeing who gets that money. As we could potentially, let's just toggle on over to Golden Sea for ourselves right now. We do have Caston with a minor gold lead up 800. Pretty even in the jungle, which is important. Oh, hold on a minute.
Gwen just going for it, popping the needles immediately. She is immune for the time being, but no more. A lot of damage going down, then there's just a little bit too much of that Jinx rocket as LSE Dog secures that kill. Some of the health bars getting very low. Hook onto The Graves here will be rezzing now on Horn in return.
Oh.
But a massive cask from Nick there, and that might be what LSE needed to win the fight. This way will go down, however, and it is only the one death. Let's see if there can be anything more. Double kill for Lucky Shoe. Currently 3 kills to 2. Can LSE Dog get another zap? Chompers. No, Zillion will get out of that one, but that is... honestly, that's in favour of LSE. You should be able to get this objective potentially. Then again, Gwen is alive.
Is back, exactly. They do not have the ultimate or the ghost, but they will be able to approach her if they want it. But it looks like Harmer's not even going to go for the flip. This will be another play that goes massively in LSE's favour. And I would say this game is feeling quite dire when you have 3 kills and 3 assists on a Kassadin and a Jinx at 12 minutes. I know we would make him Born This Way out to be the star of the show, but when you have this much gold on these kind of scaling carries, I'm very scared for ICL. I don't know if there's a lot they can really do to hold it off, and it all comes from the fact that they're getting a bit over-aggressive in their forces.
See if they can get something here. There is a stacked wave, looking to get some plates instead. Not really going for the Gragas dive. A little bit of damage down with the snip, but outside of that, nothing more.
Only going to be a minute amount of gold. Is not going to really be swinging this game. I mean, I know the numbers look relatively even at the top of your screen right there, but you have to remember who's getting this money at the end of the day. 1,000 gold given over to Zillion is basically nothing, considered you give 1,000 gold over to the Kassadin. This Everfrost now means that Hi can look aggressively onto the Zillion
really
like
looking
this.
for it, and something you have to remember, he has first strike, and he is a melee champion, meaning that he gets 100% of the gold he deals when he procs ability, so a lot of extra income, and will maybe accelerate him to that level 16 mark with the items he needs.
No Zillion not available right now. We saw Astro actually burn it on their own right there.
Born This Way getting really overzealous here, and he's gonna die this way too in the bot lane.
That was a pretty smooth call, if I must say so myself, as they really did just run it down for all intents and purposes. You know, even the best of us can have those kind of moments. Going for the Zillion, and Astro gets the bait, but now...
not again. There's no way he gets us twice. He's out of mana, though, and Astro Man will escape that one with his life.
I don't go back for the siege, man. Come on. Yeah, okay, they're going to run away after chucking down the bombs, but we'll be under control.
Wait, LSE Dog has ult. If he backs in this bush...
I'm a little scared. There is vision around. Okay, let's see. How big is your brain, LSE Dog? Probably not even going to risk it right now.
Yeah, just getting the base off. Oh no, cancelling. Yeah.
Ooh. Alright. It's like bird watching like there. We're playing off a mini-map, not off the actual game.
I've seen too many Jinx snipes recently. It's just almost become expectation that one will happen.
It does make me excited for the Ash buffs that came through.
Oh,
speeding up that projectile. I'm hoping that she comes back into the meta just because... while Jinx ults even are really cool to watch people die, I have too many traumatic memories of losing Barons to them.
Oh lord.
So yeah, I'd much prefer Ashe. It's a lot more stylish for me. Gives me
definitely get the stun make a play as we get another play and another pause.
I could feel that coming. I don't know why. I was like, I can see this action, and I should be handing it off to you, but for some reason, I just don't feel like doing that quite yet. It was my Caster Curse vibe incoming as... we're going to get the instant unpause.
We're not going to be back because it should stop again.
Stop! Don't get excited.
No, wait, no, it's not stopped this time. What is wrong with this client? Wait, no, now it stopped.
You can fool me twice, right, games, but 3 times? No, not today. As to give you the brief summary, pausey shenanigans right there. Truman burnt the ult. Nick was able to get out without expending anything for themselves. We have a lot of attention up in the top side right here from ICL as the game is going to resume.
It's resuming 4v4 at the moment. And I've seen potentially looking for something here. Will not land the Zenith Blade, but Hi wants it anyway. Going in onto Kenny, stunned up, locked down, depth charge, and will that ult get it? No, Rift walk away. Graves now in. Nothing more.
The thing is about this ICL comp is part of the reason why I think we're both leaning towards it earlier is it looks really good in concept, but when you have the kind of situation where if the Jinx ever gets ahead, you don't really have any tools to control them. because the Orno and the Nautilus are really good, but there's so many other threats, you can't just burn them on the Jinx relentlessly.
Get the engage onto the Leona, and I don't think that's the person you wanted to lock up, as it seems to be a disaster initially. The Zillion ult does not proc, and that is massive. That is 5 deaths. That's an ace, and you lost nobody.
That was beautiful right there. So cleanly played, not giving the chance for the revive. And the thing about this Gwen, as soon as she gets the Riftmaker Nashers, they seem nigh unkillable with the amount of sustain. She is not there yet. She is far and away off of that mark, and burning all of her abilities beforehand means she does not have that kind of comeback potential that happens in these fights. Really good stuff from LSE in a game that we were expecting them to be coming in from a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, when you have 2 auto-filled players, there is certainly something to talk about there. We do have the next Drake spawning as another player in this mid lane. If they get the kill there, it might just be what they need. It goes over to Zillion, and that is 1 down before an objective will spawn.
We do have Born this way, I'm going to say trying to use the red trinket and summoning the Rift Herald. I'm pretty sure is what happened right there. I don't think it was about to time out. I definitely don't think it was about to time out. A bit of a whoopsie, especially considering the objective bounties are now active. Right here, we can actually see him at the top in the HUD. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Okay,
and they will cash one of them right away. 250 gold split for their team, immediately getting that back in. This now evens out the gold lead a little bit, still in favor of LSE, but they're only 2 and a bit K behind, so it doesn't really mean too much as long as you can get this Drake right now.
I was going to say, especially because it's going to spawn with a bounty at this point because of the objective lead that we have seen LSE put together. It's going to be a really nice pickup. There you go, 500G.
I was about to say that that might have been stolen by that Jinx rocket, but luckily the smite was there, and ICL do get that Drake. And LSE will not be denied the soul point. It will be a Cloud Soul, of course, but I mean, when you have a Gwen and a Zillion, and that Gwen running you at Mark 20 with a Cloud Soul, that's actually kind of scary.
So, I don't know how much of LCS you've been watching recently, but I think everybody in some way or another has been made aware of the Cloud9 drafts. And one of the things that we had LS talking about not too long ago was the fact that Cloud Soul is really not a win con. Oh, that's a tragic Jinx trap right there. Truma getting locked up, cannot keep the chase down. Oh, that's a gut punch. That is a gut punch.
Absolutely. Hi, waiting in the wings here. Maybe looking for a kill, but let's see if they can get one on the back. Caster maybe a little bit too safe with the blinks. Somehow lands that, and LSE Dog goes down. 2 kills to Imperial. Nautilus hook lollipopping all the time.
Can he make it this game look competitive with these kind of hooks? We've all seen the myths of the Nautilus, but okay, he's going to give a gold to Cassidy.
Oh no, wait, Cassidy. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep, there it is.
It's going to be a bounty picked up, though. That is another expensive one. It's going to be about 250 gold. It's not a massive amount, but it is a much bigger influx than you otherwise would be getting.
Definitely a lot of gold. Currently, Cassidy in No Man's Land does have mana for these Rift Walks. Let's see if the apes can catch him out. But yeah, manages to blink over enough walls to get him out. Safety 5 and 1 right now. Really scaling up. Level 11. Potentially could be quite scary in later team fights.
So, one of the things that we should talk about is the fact that champions like Zillion, like the Caitlyn, and to a lesser extent the Jinx, are really good when the enemy have abilities like the Zillion or like a Zhonya's Hourglass, because you can put something down, whether it be the bombs or a Jinx trap, preemptively to stop them reviving or coming out of that stasis. And considering that Hi wants to be diving in on this casting, I expect that is the main reason why they haven't opted straight into going for this Zhonya's here. Because there's a lot of consistent damage between the Gwen and the Ezreal. It's not really about the big burst that comes through. It's mainly about surviving the first bit of lock-up CC. So it's going to need to be playing very conservatively around that and avoiding being in this kind of wombo combo knock-up into stun range that they have going for ICL.
Yeah, if you get caught by one of those pieces of CC, as we just saw in the top lane with that beautiful Nautilus hook, you just die. There is no outplaying that depth charge, Anchor, Zion, Ornn, Ezreal or Gwen. I mean, it is just a meat grinder if you get hit by anything.
A lockup coming in. This is just Hi actually earning gold by trading. That's the thing about the first strike. In the side lane, they are going to be able to stock this up because the Zillion and the Ornn really do nothing to threaten the Kassadin. And this was one of the win cons that we're talking about for LSE, is that when it comes to this point in the game, the side laning, pretty good. You can even send the Grags there as is usual, and while they won't be threatening towers, they can always keep the wave pushed out now against the Ornn and against the Zilean.
Right, now going for another first strike trade, getting a lot of money off that one. I'm going to do a check quickly on how much he's earned off of that, and currently has earned 531 gold, almost 2 kills.
Not bad, considering that this is a cast in one of those champions that just really wants to ramp up in itemization as quick as possible. And for me, also, the main thing is that extra burst damage that this casting will be able to put out later. If they find Lucky Zhu when they're just clearing a wave, or even the Zilean while they're recalling, the one-shot potential is going to be immense. LSE will secure this top tower, though, and look for the fight.
It's another amazing body slam. Huge engage from LSE. Zilean, here, let's see what happens afterwards. Another body slam securing the kill onto IC Kenny. Now, high in the backline. Nick getting very low, and somehow Lucky Zhu picks that one up. Truman getting also very low here, but able to survive using Ornn's tenacity. And now it seems that ICL come out on top, an Ezreal masterclass by the ADC of the Apes.
And this is going to be a free Baron. Gwen, AP junglers in this current meta, can shred through this objective. They do have the Ezreal to duo it. They have Smite, and the Jigsaw is down. This should be a free Baron take from all intents purposes. Zilean will be up soon. It's going to be close. They should have it, though.
Definitely will be close, but I think the respawn timers are just a little bit too long, and even though LSE Dog is up, as you say, there is no Jinx available. That's a Baron, that's a lot of gold, and now the gold lead is dead even.
Oh, that teleport's coming in, though, right there. High blocking off any attempt to rotate. You have to back to get there first, and now this will likely be Soul Point going over to LSE. It's a Cloud, though. It's not WinCon. This is something that's pretty decent, but a bit extra movement speed is not going to really win you the game. The only thing I will say is it does give you potentially a bit more slipperiness in the side lanes. It's just not really what you want to be leaning towards, as gold pretty much equal again across the board. I feel like every time we've checked this number, it has been almost dead even. Bounty's now faded. This is just going to be what can you get done with the ICL Baron.
So we're looking to see if they can push in, sync some of the waves up. Of course, is pushing out the bot side, so maybe we're just looking at top and mid waves. Engage onto Gragas. He is a very tanky fella, though, and I don't know if you have the damage to kill Nick here.
Getting insane value from this Fimbulwinter. Already blocked 1,250 damage for the Gragas. Is going to keep them alive. Himself and Ornn have the potential to get this shield over and over again. Every ability for the pair of them has some way to proc it or another, as Truman just gotta look to try and clear this wave.
Big coming out on Born this way. Gonna get CC'd. That's about it.
Split push though. This is important. Gwen is going to be getting a lot of gold. This Gwen-Zilean combo is something that we need to be looking at, as
you are in the middle of 3 people, and this is exactly what I said about the lockup. Ezreal just about picking that one up. Bit of an overstep from high.
It can get really bad, because now you don't have anybody to defend the base. All you need to do, as the 3-person clump from ICL, is just buy time, and your Gwen-Zilean will most definitely kill Born this way.
I think you win this. There is a res here. Snip, and Born this way dies yet again, and now they're in your base.
Oh, beautiful.
That was huge.
Okay, LSE Dog secures the game right there. It would have been losing Nexus Towers 1, arguably even a possible threat on to the game. That rocket saving the day. Okay, as it will be the mid tower falling here. Going to be matched on the other side by some minions, but it is still going to be a hectic game. A very heavy back and forth, and this is exactly what we're hoping to see from these squads.
Yeah, very even game indeed, and honestly pretty damn good gameplay, so it really leads up for the Roehamption versus Exeter later on, which hopefully everyone will stay tuned for. Should be another exciting one. Hopefully those two teams do come in 4-0, but let's go to the LSE base. That is one Nexus turret, almost dead, and an open inhib.
Double teleports, but it is on an Ornn Zilean, so not exactly your best backdoor targets. If we do see potentially this Gwen pick up a control ward at some point, we could see that being used. Gwen walking down, ghosting into the enemy base, kind of like we had from Karsa. I don't know if you saw that highlight, but it was a Hecarim sitting in the top lane bush for the best part of 2 minutes. using their ghost and running into the enemy base with open nexus, chucking down a ward and just having everybody dive bomb.
Yeah, it was certainly glorious. V5 doing really well in the LPL right now as Gwen running down the Leona. Oxbridge Reject will survive. Chrono Shift coming out there, keeping Calm alive there, and, well, you lose an ult. But
yeah, not going to complain right there. Getting the Leona sums is not your biggest objective, but it's fine. It's just going to keep the pressure gauge going, and it means that you're going to be able to continue to maintain this vision line in the top side. Now, it's not completely consistent, but knowing that you aren't getting flanked by a Gragas who has had, honestly, some really good engages. Nick has been getting massive ways to kick off fights, and pretty much every time LSE have come out on top, it has been off of the back of a 2 to 3 person cask.
Absolutely, Nick been very, very on point with these engages this game. Hasn't really been having the nicest time as far as farm and scoreline goes, but it's a Gragas. You eat up the damage at the end of the day, get some engages off, and that is kind of just your job.
They get a nice body slam and then into the ultimate. That is really all you could ask from this utility pick. It is about the ADCs, and it is about, at least for ICL, the jungler. Those are your damage dealers. The consistency of double Conqueror carries means that in an elongated fight, that is where you really can come online. The Jinx needs to ramp up with that lethal tempo, but not in the same way. It is much slower than what the Gwen could get, and a lot harder to keep going than what the Ezreal can poke out. As now, we do actually have the Crown of the Shattered Queen secured, along with double Zhonya's and an extra stopwatch for ICL. They should be able to walk up with a bit more reckless abandon, but not too much. At the end of the day, you have to use those abilities to defend yourself. You can still just die to the Graves Burst.
It's certainly a possibility. Kenny looking for it, doesn't land it this time. No lollipop in this time around. As it is also worth noting that the Master
watch Kassadin on the Zillion
are coming into play. Kassadin is on the flank. That one doesn't connect. Kassadin now coming out from the flank, going in, will completely miss his E. Now caught out a little bit. Ezreal is able to half health the man. Now born this way, getting engaged on instead, flashing out of the rest. The damage will survive for the time being. No one going down yet. I see Kenny and Lucky Sue, however, do go down now. LSE Dog laying down the damage. Truman getting out with the dash. 3 kills to 1. And in favor of LSE.
Minions are knocking on the Nexus door right there, though. They will be able to take down the first base tower in the blue team side. They will trade up right here. They get the soul. Is going to be a 3-for-1 Baron on the table, but it looks like they're actually going to try and push through the bottom lane as Astroman is caught here.
Oh no, you don't have your ult yet. It's up in a moment. Maybe you get it off the back of the Zhonya's. Not quite enough. Maybe a half second. 0 seconds on the ping. You hate to see it.
Oh, they're trying to rotate to the bot lane to cut the wave so you couldn't go for this base take. It will actually be called off, though. The amount of time bought with that stopwatch will keep your own towers up. Baron alive. We do get the respawns coming out now. The Zillion will have TP up, as it is a beeline from the LSE Leviathans towards that Baron buff. Go well, get some mid priority and try and secure some basic vision. Because if you take a look, because of how much time was dedicated over towards the dragon, it's really dark on that side of the map, which means it's scary to go face checking along here.
Absolutely, especially for the blue side, because it's not a nice angle for you to walk through that jungle right now. There is one control wall down from Imperial, but that will be cleared out shortly by Oxbridge Reject. But the important thing to note here is that the Baron is available.
Oh, okay, Lucky Shoe is going to be safe because of this crown has just been upgraded by the Ornn. And Kassadin is lurking. Not going to be able to get anything significant, though. That is very important. With the first strike gone, it removes a lot of their kill threat because the burst is reduced enough that you should be able to get the Zillion off beforehand.
Nick looking to get Karma, gonna walk in. She's no longer immune, and that means she can die. However, your ADC is also dead now. 2 carries down for the right side of the team. 2 Zhonya's getting popped. A lot of abilities getting thrown around, and currently it's in favor of LSE. Lucky Shoe will not be able to use that revive. Might just get killed. That's picked up by Hi. Truman should be able to kill the Leona here. Yep, we'll be able to get that one, but we'll go down in return. Not quite able to expunge the Brittle there on Born This Way. And maybe LSE can look for something here. I don't think they can end the game with the timers. Gwen will be up to defend, but probably an inhib.
They definitely can't go for the end here, and they can't go for the Baron because this is not that lifesteal Graves. This is raw damage, and it would be a bit dangerous. They're pinging it, though. wanting to go over. Gwen will be available with Ghost and Smite. One control ward in inventory. I much prefer this though. Hi actually just lurking in the bush. As long as nobody shows from LSE, they are none the wiser. This Baron could be taken right now.
Currently
I love this
stacking
right
up
here.
the Rift Walk on full damage right now. If anyone walks up to that bush, they have a chance of just being deleted from the game. But Gwen will opt to go into the mid lane instead.
Ooh, Jinx was spotted on a control ward right
Three-man
there.
stack, here we go. Can they lay down the damage? Karma going golden, delaying some time for these TPs to come
Zillion's
through.
in range.
Damage from the Ezreal. She's immune for long enough and immune to get the res. Let's see if she can get himself out of this one. Ornhorn denied once again by Nick. Actually, no, manages to get it right on the fadeaway, and that's a kill onto Nick instead. Now, LSE on the run. Maybe Imperial can look for the Baron.
Chase down potential with this Zillion and the Ezreal is really disgusting. You cannot run away from it, as it will be a Baron, like you say, being looked towards. Teleport in the top lane from Hi. I don't know if they're coming to flank the objective, or if they're going for the inhibit. Will be the objective side. Jinx are available. There's the potential for a pop-off.
No, the casting's here. 5,000 getting dangerously low, but Graves isn't in position for the steal. It's going to have to be on this Cassidon to secure it, but no. Astromanon gets it with the Zillion. Hi. Now in trouble here. Going golden, and Ezra will pick up the kill with the auto. Now, Ornn getting rezzed on this side. Going golden. LSE Dog is double kill for the Ezreal. Triple kill for the Ezreal, and ICL are going to run it down the mid lane.
Oh, but look at the top side. We're born this way, running towards the enemy base. Thing is, though, this is going to be a matter of keeping the wave away. There's only a single minion with this group up right here. Yes, you have the Baron buff, so they should be able to stop Born this way pushing. But I really like this attempted call because it's the best shot you're going to get. Oh, the minion dies.
Minion dies, but I think you have 5 people, and that means you have a lot of health bars, and I think you might just be able to brute the base as well. There's only one Nexus turret to kill, and Born this way needs to be in the base to defend. Nick gonna try and make a last stand. Gonna get a triple body slam. You kill the Gwen here, but there's probably too much damage. Can they kill the members of Imperial before the core comes down? Ornhorn, core HP, they get locked up. One goes down, they all go down. Astroman has to leave, and somehow LSE stay in the game.
The Gragas TPing into the enemy base. This is a dead Zillion. They've got it. They've got the turnaround. LSE have actually managed to
wait, they win the game.
They've done it.
They're going to connect.
This is going to be the slowest Nexus take in the game, but so close of a margin right there from ICL taking the enemy Nexus, but they will not be able to get the job done. I do not think this will be a second turnaround. This will be the Nexus going down. Jinx is on the way. Congratulations over to LSE for winning your rivalry matchup, and it was a hell of a game.
Very, very close. So sad to see from ICL. Just a slight overstep in the base. Just maybe a little bit more damage. Maybe if the Gwen didn't go down, you had enough damage to kill the core there. But oh my, that was a seesaw. Flip-flopping one side to the other side the entire game.
Not the cleanest League of Legends we've ever seen, but definitely up there for the most entertaining. I'm gonna swiftly give Nick MVP for that base defense, buying as much time as physically possible. Born this way, I'm very glad they abandoned the counter Nexus take right there. It was an okay attempt to try and intimidate the side of ICL down to get them to stop pushing, but as soon as they just walk through that first inhib tower, you know that you are not going to be able to stop them with just Gragas. But such insane damage, Born this way. Popping 3 people and actually killing Lucky Zhu with the ultimate over the Nexus was really the thing that saved the game, because if Ezreal's allowed to free hit, they do a lot of damage to that objective. So close. So close.
Certainly on a nice edge there. The base defense from Nick and Born this way, absolutely masterful. Reminds me of that G2 moment in LEC recently where Flack had managed to get a quadra and save the game, and then they end off the top side. Similar sort of thing happened there, but this is what you always have to realize and recognize when, yes, you have a Baron, yes, you have 5 members, but you really have to be precise on the execution, or else it all goes to shambles.
I think that the place I want to take this to is the fact that for our next matchup, which I believe we'll be getting to after a quick break at some point, that Roehampton beat both of these teams. So when you have squads that can fight back from those kind of deficits respectively, I believe both teams actually had objective bounties active at some point, if I'm not mistaken, then I'm excited to see what kind of resolve we'll be getting in the following game.
Yep, certainly excited to watch that one, but that will come shortly. There's still a few things we need to sort out, so I imagine we will be going to something. Oh, I think we might have a lobby getting made, but still taking a little bit time there. But yeah, excited for the matchup. We will be going on a break to get everything sorted, but don't go anywhere. We have Deus Ex versus Roehampton, and it should be a banger. Welcome back, everyone, and we have another banger. Deus Ex versus Roehampton. And of course, this is myself, Dan Kugelmeyer, and Melvin Isle. Calvin Melvin Isle Isles. I cannot talk properly right now, but hopefully
You
that will
got
fix
there.
itself momentarily.
It's just a bug, not a feature, don't worry. Right, League of Legends. We are coming into our second game of the day, our unfortunately only other game of the day, and we do have Varsity coming at you right here. We sadly do not get to say that we have two 4-0 teams coming into this one, as Roehampton did drop their last game. I'm going to quickly check who that was against. Round 4, they were against the Comrades Kids, who I believe were 0-3 up until this point. So, don't know how that happened, for being
Interesting.
honest. Yeah, that's not exactly something we're prepared for. This team looking
Oh,
very strong, having just beaten both of the teams we had in the previous game. As currently weighing, Exeter did actually win versus DMU. Okay,
that
that
is
is
a
important,
big win.
especially because when we're actually talking to Exeter, they said there were three teams they were afraid of. There was Grey Warwick, they'd beaten them already. There was DMU, they just beat them. And there's Roehampton, that was the third team they said they're afraid of. If they can beat this, then in their eyes, they are going to be set and matched to be the favourites for the tournament. Very high expectations coming in from this squad that is made up of the blown up teams of Deus Ex and Ex Machina polymerization together for maximum power.
Absolutely. You need to make sure you have the strongest roster coming into this. You got the one team, you got one shot. Best make it count. And I mean, you're coming into this with the advantage, I guess. I mean, now you're the favorite to win. You're still undefeated in the standings, and it's about seeing, well, how long can you keep the win streak for? And Roehampton is, of course, the last one on the hit list for them, as we do get some rosters showing up right now for you. Deus Ex lineup and the Roehampton lineup minus LP.
I feel like you're all going to recognise that name in the top lane for Roehampton. We have got Jojo, important player for this squad, really going to be one of the main defining factors for this game for my money. Is looking at how Exeter play, I think that the top side of the map is going to be super important, and considering that Jojo has always been a player who, while they have had their carry performances and they have had damn good ones, I've always associated them with being a solid brick wall that you have to try and break through. Refresh has the champions to try and break through that wall or slam their head into it in the process. And now we're going to have to find out if they can get that done, because the way that Exeter described themselves was 2020 damn one, where the top side is where it matters.
That is certainly something powerful to liken yourselves to, of course, picking up the World Championships, picking up the World Championship win that year even. Interesting to see how Roehampton can match that, as if you do know Jojo, typically does play the weak side, and you know, if it's weak side into strong side, and you're funneling resources into refresh, then you might be in for a bit of trouble.
But there is a reason that, as their IGM will dictate, Jojo is the new champion Jojo in-game. They actually did end up losing the winter finals that we had the pleasure of casting. And while that was the case, they were still in the finals, and it was still 3-2 games at the end of the day. So it isn't something that we can take away from this squad. They have shown that they are one of the clear favourites to be taking this one away from what was originally actually a very unexpected kind of opening up to the split. Roehampton in winter was not a region or a team even that anybody was looking towards going, yeah, they're scary, they're going to be a really notable force. But I think that is going to be mainly around this top lane that Jojo has brought some of their pro play experience up in things like the UKL to this NUEL team and really made it work. Roehampton blowing up in the esports department this split.
Yeah, definitely blowing up. They're showing their prowess with their roster, building an amazing team here. Jungler is the only real new player to this. They've kept most of the roster the same, but meshing very well together at the moment. And as far as that goes, I mean, there's a lot of champions that are actually contested as far as I'm concerned between these two teams.
Oh, absolutely. We need to be looking towards that mid lane with the newly reworked Ari. I'll send my prayers over to Nymera, former NUEL talent, as we all love and know them, as I'm expecting that to be a champion that is banned in this game. Vex, another one that these two mid laners have picked up. And I will say that actually, for Savagery, a former, for all intents and purposes, Zoe one-trick, I would say that this is actually somewhat out of their wheelhouse, as when we were prepping for them coming into the finals last year, we associate them with big assassin champions, things like the Pantheon, these kind of bruisers that like to go in, the melee champions, and I want to liken them to a a NLC Div 2 player called Fatty P, who has basically done the same kind of transition from, okay, I only play bruisers and assassins. They've now picked up these kind of control mages that can really get the work done for their team, and it slowly is turning both of these players into really complete packages that become almost impossible to ban out in a champ select.
In the champ select, we now are, as the Rengar is the first ban of the game.
Yep.
Pretty aggressive jungler. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Senna Rengar thing is still a thing in the bot lane if you want to play that cheesy tactic.
That's
It's
true.
actually not too bad, but Tryndamere will be the second ban.
Yeah, this is the jungle and top lane, respectively. Some of their most played champions. They have insane amount of games on those champions, respectively. And actually, we get something new for Roehampton. In all the games that we have seen in the champ selects, we have actually had Aphelios for all smoke, no pop in all 3 of them. So we will get a new champion pulled out this time around, as the Camille is matched, just taking all of these carries away in the top side, as it will be a respect ban for Savagery Zoe.
Savagery Zoe will no longer see the light of day, as it hasn't. If I remember correctly, it was banned out every single game in the winter finals. So definitely not something that you want to deal with. That, yeah, very scary thing. This is why you don't let people have these pocket picks, as the Zilean will be the first pick locked in, and we did talk about this earlier.
And we're kind of foreshadowing in our first game, because both of these comps have actually played that kind of Zilean Gwen style that we did see in the previous game, barely losing out in a hard-fought matchup. But this time around, I will say that Deus Ex have actually used the Zilean Plus, and I say plus because it's either been the Gwen or the Hecarim, in all of their matches we have got current record for. So it's something that we need to find out how Roehampton are prepped for that, because it's something you knew your opponent's coming into today. You can see the match histories that this is the same style they've done the salty run back for 3 times and haven't lost of it yet. What do you have to dismantle this relatively terrifying top side?
I do see a Teemo Hover. I don't think that's going to be dismantling anything, and as for that matter, I imagine it will be a proxy pick. We'll get information on that shortly, and I have just had that information, and it is the Jhin.
Take away. Yeah, Jin's out. Oh, for God's sake. I was looking at...
I love that image too much.
It's really good.
Personal favourite of mine.
I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit confused because our producer just said the name Jhin in the background, and I thought they said Zin, and I was like, no, Zin's already picked her unless we've got 2 proxies. What are you on about? But yes, alright. Back to reality, Exeter have now picked up the Zilean Hecarim duo, and I was curious to see if they would go for this Gwen instead, but actually, by taking this one, now it leaves them with a bit of a weird situation. The Gwen just being ignored by both of these teams, interestingly, and it is one that both had a lot of success with, so I'm very curious to see what part of the strategies between them that they have said, actually, no, we don't want to get anything involved with that.
You're currently copying the homework of ICL a little bit with the Ezreal coming for Ezreal Zilean, now also locked in, and, you know, we just talked about it. That's a Gwen Hover. If it does get locked in, that's going to Jojo, most likely.
Oh, almost definitely when you have the Zinzao locked in already, unless we get weird bot lane shenanigans, as that is a champion that's available, the second of the 3 Powerpuff Girls, Zeri, Gwen, and Seraphine all combined together, as we do have now established at least the ADC matchups. The Jhin versus the Ezreal, both of these teams taking the weak side on the bottom lane, at very least just in Champion Select. I have to see if the support picks go to supplement that, as neither team, unless that Zilean makes its way down there, have shown that yet. It's going to be important to see what we actually get in the bans, as we do have that Thresh removed, one of the best champions for keeping your mobile carries safe. When you do have the Gwen and the Zinzao, it's really good for bailing them out after super dives.
And we just see the respect being played to both Refresh and NBA Hook Boy. Don't let this man have hook champions, because he will smoke on you, and the same goes for Refresh. There's a reason why we have this weak side bot going on, banning out Jax, banning out Reddit, removing these strong picks that he has the comfort on, and maybe forcing him to play carries that he might not necessarily execute as well on, with the Hecarim and the Zilean likely playing for that top side.
There it is. I was gonna say, if it was anything but the Karma, I would have been a bit concerned, because you already have a lot of champions between the Jhin and these two melee immune at range champions that love being sped up, and combining that against the Hecarim, who, if you can just Karma ult your team, is really hard for him to actually get onto you. Would have been a super scary pick to be facing down. Question is now, where do you want to go with the champ select? And we get a few more seconds to speculate while we find out what that proxy pick is. Unless Savagery has...
might just be an Annie.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
right, it's not.
No crime performance here. That is a Rakan, we've been told. Another one of those quite good champions that works well with the Gwen and the Xin Zhao, who do a lot of the dive work for them. However, I'm not going to say they have the best targets on the enemy team.
No, not necessarily. Also, there is a support counter pick coming, and the Bard is not what I expected.
I'm hoping that this is... No, it's definitely not a proxy pick, because Mafia Goat is actually a big Bard player, and it was actually banned out against them by UOM in that one game that they did have the champion acknowledged in. So this is a champion that they are proficient with. It is what I'm super excited to see, because while we all know that Bard in solo queue that just doesn't do anything, when you have a truly good Bard, it is an awesome thing to watch. The ultimate combos, oh, chef's kiss. I know I'm already hyping him up, but Mafia Go, I'm putting a lot of weight on your shoulders for this one.
And Mafia Goat picking a champion that I am a little bit Monka W about. That is a Jace in the top side, paired with a Zilean, and Hecarim is probably going to play for it. That's potentially pretty scary.
You got a lot of poke with the Ezreal and the Jace ready, as... Go wait and find out. I think that would be a Sylas lock-in, actually. You're against the Zilean mid, so you get to steal the revive. Hecarim ult also amazing, big AP scaling. The Jace and the Ezreal, not as much, but Bard, yeah. All you need for Sylas is really 2 good ults, so you can keep cycling them out. But once you get more than that, Champ becomes very, very good. I super think that that is scary for Savagery, another one of these melee champions that they have a lot of proficiency on. Makes sense as well for the draft. Exciting stuff to see, as we're going to be rebuilding the champ select bit by bit.
Definitely to see that coming through. I mean, I think we have most of the positions locked in. I don't think there's anything funky going on, but we will confirm that when the draft finishes up and we get the proper draft rather than the one we had before, because we have to have the proxy picks, because not everyone owns the right champions and you need to pick them in certain orders to do things in draft, as with any draft. But very, very exciting. I am interested to see how this top matchup goes, as we do expect Exeter to play for it, and how Roehampton are going to, react in return to that, and how do you think they will react?
Well, I'm curious to see how much... I know we've talked about LPL a lot today, but I'm curious to see how much Jojo has been watching, because I am aware that the Shy showed a pretty disgusting Gwen level 1. Invading the enemy jungle and ruining their life, going equal CS down against their own top laner, and really losing nothing in the process. You're against a Hecarim, who is a jungle that is really susceptible to early invades. Taking the Ghost means that they will not be able to get out if you get on top of them, and they do not have the best trades early, so I think that we might actually be able to see some real power plays from Jojo if they go for it.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on this top matchup this game, and I think our eyes will be pointed towards it. Expectation is that the bot lane will just be a sit around. You have Jhin, Ezreal, they'll do their thing, they'll come into team fights, but Sylas Zilean is also an interesting one, because you get to steal that res.
Yeah, in the early skirmishes, it's going to be excruciatingly favoured for the Sylas Xin Zhao, just because you can lock up either one of the Hecarim or the Zilean, and until Zilean gets that revive, there's really nothing those two could do to contest you. Post 6 becomes a bit more down to how it's played, because obviously Sylas can take either of their ultimates, and if you remember correctly, those are 2 of the 3 ultimates I was saying are really disgusting for Sylas to steal this game, so this should be Savagery's lane to lose for all intents and purposes.
And we will see whether he does or doesn't lose it. I say it again, and I do say it often, but this level of play is something you always have to keep in your mind, and that is execution. At the end of the day, you might have a draft advantage, but if you can't execute on it, you're still going to lose the game.
So, let's start taking a quick walk down the lanes. Where do you want to start off with? What matchups do you all be thinking about as we are going to go into the little wait time before we hop into game?
I mean, there's a lot going on. We already talked about top, talked a little bit about the mid. I don't think we talked too much about jungle yet.
That is very fair. Xin Zhao and Hecarim are two champions that have existed on and off in the meta for pretty much the past year. Hecarim really reaching his apex during the raw chem tank meta. As we do have, I'm going to say Xin Zhao should be favoured in this at most stages of the game, but a lot heavier scaling from the Hecarim in these kind of elongated team fights when paired with something like the Zilean. Yeah, the Rakan can get a lot done with the Xin, but like you were saying, it's all execution based, and I think that the Hecarim can provide a lot more consistent just engage onto the Jhin, whereas on the other side, Rakan and the Xin do not have that many targets. So for this jungle matchup in isolation, should go to Xin early, but later on, post-6 kind of team fights, it's gonna be Snepex that has the big impact.
Something else you have to remember is that Zelina has a speed up on his E, which provides Hecarim with more damage. He gets AD from that. That can hurt a lot when you have this horse running at you, and maybe we'll even see the Ghost, as that is quite a common option. In addition to Zilean, that's a lot of move speed. Something else worth noting is both these supports, you have weak side ADs, they're going to be roaming.
Oh yes, I'm expecting the full Hidelsang experience both ways around, as neither of these two want to be in their lane, because the Jhin and the Ezreal are usually very safe carries. There's a reason that they go on the weak side. Jhin can set up the traps to dissuade dives. They go for the Gale Force first in 9 out of 10 games, so they're very hard to actually get a dive onto successfully. And just their range between the autos and the Deadly Flourish means that you can't access them. So, when it comes to looking for where you can gank though, we're talking a bit about it, but Rakan doesn't have that many great angles unless we get them roaming up to top lane or picking on a flashless Zilean. I feel like it's going to be Mafia Goat favoured on this side of the map.
Yeah, definitely potentially Mafia Goat favoured, because God has the tunnel as well. He can go anywhere, he gets to go on a magical journey throughout the map and collect his chimes, because he gets to have a side quest the entire game.
And a damn good one, especially when you consider that if you look at the people they're going to be ganking, you have pretty good setup in the mid lane between this Zilean. We saw last time around with the Gwen jungle how good it was for getting early kills onto melee champions, so we might get a bit of deja vu with maybe a 3-person gank onto Savagery early on.
Yep, there's a lot of potential for that and a lot of potential for chaos, but as always, that for the realm of the Rift. We will find out when we load into the game, as we will shortly, just waiting for the rest of the spectator delay to tick over. But, I mean, 4-0, 3-1, top of the standings. Let's see if Exeter can keep that going, and let's see if Roehampton can kick back, given that they just lost their first game earlier today.
I'm going to say that it's not the worst experience to lose a game early on. If anything, it gives you a lot more incentive to play your heart out in this one. And when it comes to tiebreakers, at least, if you were going to lose to, I believe, the 0-3 team or the 4-0 team at this point, I would prefer to lose to the lower down one, because at least this way you can try and get that tiebreaker evened up again for Roehampton if they can take this game. So like you say, very, very important for both of them. And I'm getting a little bit sentimental thinking about the last time Exeter was at the top of the standings. It's been a while. Been a couple years off for them at this point. It's the first time that Roehampton have found their way up there, but I was still playing the last time that Exeter was up there at that point in time. It was a great day. We had the Exeter versus Exeter finals, but then they went on to have another great year after that. And actually, in both of those years, it was all down to the Exeter teams using polymerization on their rosters again. So this seems to be an ongoing theme with the university that I hadn't just locked onto until right then. There's something about them, but they have a lot of good pieces all over the place, and then they just need to smush them together to make a really solid roster.
Absolutely, there's a lot to play for, of course. That trip to the LEC and the chance at UEM, both amazing prizes provided by our equally amazing sponsors, Intel 12th Gen with their CPUs. Check them out, as well as Twitch Prime Student with discounts and other offerings to you, as we will be on the Rift shortly.
As we are about to hop onto the Rift, we have both teams loading in. No sign of a pause just yet. I'm getting my Caster Curse trap card ready to go.
Wait, how many did we have last time? We had 3 or 4? I can't remember.
Okay, we're being told by producer it's 5, and I trust their trauma on the pause button a lot more than our own. Dove, double tier start, actually. How does Zilean have 12 on the tier? Is that a bug? I hope that's a bug.
I have no idea.
I clicked it. It says bonus
Yeah,
mana.
no, I mean, I see 18 now. Is it because of the E?
Does he have E? I'm just gonna watch
I'm
them now in
very,
the mid lane.
no, it's
No, they've got
Q.
Q.
He has spent mana.
Maybe it's Airy? Maybe it's when you use Q. Okay, so it's got to be
Maybe it's
when you
Q
Q
on an
somebody.
ally. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. The more
that's
you know.
interesting. Right,
Hey, gamers, we're
okay.
learning every day. Zillion can stack up tier in a cheaty manner, one might say.
I mean, at the end of the day, 18 stacks at first minute. I mean, it's nice, but I
It's
don't
not
really
going to
think
win you
it's
the
going to win
game,
you
but
the
it's
game.
funky.
As we do get some relatively tame starts. Nothing special from warding, just currently running the scanner to see if Exeter has decided to ward in their jungle, but no, nothing appearing there.
So for this early game, like we said, it needs to be all on the Zinzao to get stuff done early. That's where we really want to see the focal point for the Roehampton squad. That's where they want to be getting this action kicked off. As for lanes, all three of them have okay setup. I'd say that top lane is really the one place where you don't. And that is likely going to be why we have Jojo leashing when, obviously a jungler in of themselves, gives very good leashes. That's going to be setting up Desco for a solid early game path into that bot side.
Certainly will be just the regular trading on for the lanes. Currently, the first Drake that we do have lined up is the Hextech Drake. Actually, a really good individual Drake to get if you can get it.
Yeah, funnily enough, every champion likes either ability haste or attack speed, and when a dragon gives you both, kind of nutty, as we do get a bit of a trade back in the bottom lane. Will not end
Level
up doing
2
anything.
first, but you don't hit the W, or smoke no pop, not managing to smoke that one.
Man, that's a good name for casting. That's only just starting to feel the repercussions of that now. So it was an all smoke no pop kind of play, as we do have, oh I love this, roam from the bot lane up to punish the Zillion, but Hecarim has spotted the Rakan, so they know that there is this roam happening, and it will save him in the mid lane on this Zillion. It's a very susceptible champion in the early game.
Certainly is going to really see Refresh doing Jace thing, stacking up the wave, when can't do much to pressure that early on.
And because Hecarim was able to spot out the bottom lane for Roehampton, they're getting punished exponentially for this, as now the minions are dying. We do actually have all smoke no pop managing to secure the siege with their W, but it will be a lot of XP going down in the opposing favour. So this is going to be a bit of time where the ranged Bard Ezreal lane can, in theory, start to dictate the matchup for at least a few moments while it pushes back out.
Something you have to remember is Ezreal does have first strike, so he's able to get that extra money just from hitting his Mystic shots onto the enemy bot. Descro did manage to get the crab first and is now going to base and go to the top side probably. Let's see if Snepex will be able to get that top crab.
This thing is, we haven't had Roehampton able to get anything done in the early game. And I know, still only, going on 4 minutes in. It's not going to be the end of the game, but you want this Zinzao to be proactive now. You do not want them to be waiting out these plays, because the longer you give this Hecarim to compete, the more likely the skirmishes are going to go away from you. With that Conqueror, with the Zillion, even the Bard, these are all amazing tools for winning stalled out fights.
Absolutely, there's a lot of stuff there. You have the poke, you got the Jace, you got the Ezreal. Refresh not taking the nicest trade there. If Gwen does get onto you, she can do a lot of damage.
You have Desk actually putting a control ward down in the enemy jungle, so they will see if Hecarim goes for any kind of flanks now. They have been spotted out on a ward though, so they know that, so it's okay. Don't have anything to worry about at the moment. Or Refresh, as there was the threat of a dive onto them. Jace Wall is champions where if they are put behind, I'm not going to say feels useless, but definitely feels really difficult to get stuff done, as Snepex with their ward will spot this control out and clear it themselves.
Yep, a lot of warding going on across the rift here. Bunch of wards on top side, bunch of wards on bot side. It's expected. You want to play for these things. Setting up vision early might be able to help you secure the early rift, and the same goes for the dragon, as that is spawning shortly.
And I'm not going to say that stacking up dragons is any worse than it was a couple patches ago. Obviously, it's a big win con for both of these teams. It's big win con in every game. That's just the nature of them. But when you have such a heavy focus on the top side, I think that you're more than happy to sacrifice going for that dragon prio to get plays like this done, where you have Hookboy lurking on the Rakan. I don't think they've been spotted, as they just want to kill Refresh while they go and break the freeze. Looks like
Just
Jojo will
waiting
not
for
take it.
refresh, but unfortunately, there are wards in the jungle. Now they split out the Xin. Refresh just going to play it safe. Back will get interrupted here.
This is going to be a lot of time invested for Desk and Hookboy if they stay around. And there's a reason that on the other side we do have the Dragon securing now over for the Exeter squad. They're going to be very happy with this. The Hecarim not wanting to get involved in plays early. Same for the Zillion. And they've pretty much been able to scoop by the early game with no pressure.
Yep, getting a free Hextech Drake in your pocket is always nice to see. Few free stats. You know, it's extra stuff. Everyone likes extra stuff. You also have extra stuff in the gold department, brings you 400, 500 even, gold up at this point. Not huge, but it's these minor leads here and there that are providing that, particularly in the jungle.
Okay, so while we do get to quickly glance over at these gold numbers, it's not going to be a massive amount. We are early in the game with no kills, so you don't expect anything. But where that gold has been spent, something does, I'm going to say, befuddle me, if I must say so. As I'm going to hold on for a moment, nothing's going to happen here. We do actually get the first item Oblivion Orb in the mid lane for Tim. And this isn't a most typical item to be rushing in the game. When you look at the enemy team's healing, there are 3 Conquerors, so I get that. And they have a Rakan, so there's a little bit more healing. But it's not exactly going to be getting you the best returns in the game this early on. You're going to be wanting to really force those skirmishes if you're opting for something like this, considering Silas shouldn't be getting those real Kingslayer trades onto you in lane. So this is just going to be all about the early scraps. I'm imagining if we are going to see it pay dividends, it will be around the Rift Herald and the Dragon.
Certainly, both objectives very, very important to help you play out the game. Rift Herald can accelerate leads, and Dragon Soul can sometimes be a win con, as long as it's not Cloud Drake.
As long as it's not Cloud Drake. No better words to be said, but there are only 3 soul options left, and one of them is Cloud. So, you know, maybe we'll have another one of those games where it is play for the early dragons, do everything right, and then your reward is Cloud Soul. Womp womp.
On the bright side, I mean, Cloud Soul's not too bad, right? So you have a Hecarim, so that is actually kind of just free damage. But again, you'd rather have another Drake. But as for other objectives, Rift Herald is spawning shortly, and currently you have a little bit of vision up there. But we are probably going to expect one of these teams to make a play for it, or either if they want to contest.
So, it's a bit early to be talking about scaling, but we don't have much to go on about while both of these teams are playing relatively reserved. So while this setup for the Rift Herald is going down, should pretty handedly go in Roehampton's pocket. Thing is, about how these fights play out, we have double pokers and really, really slippery champions for the side of Exeter, with this Ezreal Jace be able to do so much, and then the Zillion plus Bard making it almost impossible to pick them off, because if you trap them in a choke point, they can portal away. If you are in the middle of a big lane, Zillion can speed you up and revive you. So I think that Exeter, if they stay even in this game, should be able to put up some really potent fights around objectives. The only issue is, your sole frontliner is a Hecarim, who is not that good for face checking, because if they get caught out, they need to ult away, and that backfires very, very quickly. So this is going to be all about Roehampton trying to get to the punch first and try and secure themselves around these objectives before Exeter have a chance to poke you down.
So they're currently just poking down the mid wave, seeing if they can get anything happening, but I think there's too many numbers in the top side, and that Rift Herald will go over to Roehampton. Good play there, but at the end of the day, I think you can just leave it alone. The first Herald is nice if you can make a play with it, and they're looking for it right now. NBA Hookboy gets the engage, refresh getting very low, and the needles from Dojo will give him first blood.
That is really important. We were talking so much about how Refresh is the one that's meant to be the aggressor, but continue with the
Exeter
aggression.
trying to get it back, but Savagery has the stolen Zillion ult, and he will just res if you go for that one.
Making the decision right there. They had 2 killer ults to take, and they opt for that one. There's... It looks like it was Dano trying to just chip down the Jhin, zone them off of the tower. We do have the Hecarim here with the ult available, and nobody to support them, so
Wave isn't there in position. Here comes the TP.
Very good Q from the Bard, but it will not result in anything. Everybody go skedaddle. 40 seconds now until the Dragon, and Silas has just had the TP bot.
Yep. Certainly looking to set up for this one. Currently NBA Hookboy clearing out some vision. You want to get the push here. get your reset, and then come back into the objective. It is a Mountain Soul, so again, a very good, not a Mountain Soul even, a Mountain Drake. A very good individual Drake to be getting, as Savagery just laying down some damage onto Tim in the mid lane.
Gonna be very difficult to get anything done here, and we'll force out that Zillion ult.
Gonna pop the ult. I mean, maybe you can wait it out and get a kill here.
Right.
Yep, will be able to pick that one up. Zillion ulted just in case he takes too much from the tower. Nice return by Exeter.
Now this is going to be just a contest over for the Dragon. It is open. Rift Herald is in Desk's pocket on the Zinzao, so it's not going to get much done with it at the moment. It's just a bit of scrapping in the bot lane. Could result in something, but it looks like not exactly enough damage between the Jhin Rakan after their initial abilities are used. It's not exactly that scary of a lane. As now, we pan our way over to the top side to just see a bit of trading, but it is this Dragon that we need to be focusing on.
Oh, we're gonna have to flash away from that one if you get stasis there, but for some reason you're still going back in. Hookboy tries to make the escape play. Unfortunately, the binding goes down. They get stunned up and Hookboy gets a kill. Now, Curtain Call coming through. Just defensive.
Try to slow down the oncoming horde of this bottom lane. Zone them off. You can't stick around at the end of the day. We saw it last time the Jhin was low. 3 members is way enough to be able to get anything done, as we will actually have Desk zoning off the Zillion from their own lane.
Does not have ult currently. I'm not sure if they recognize that. I think they clearly do with that flash away, but it's not enough. Savagery picking up that one now. Mafia go. Starting Savagery.
2 is the magic number. They used the defensive Zillion ults and the aggressive Hecarim ults, using it better than themselves. Very good performance so far from Savagery in that skirmish. Back and forth.
Clean movement.
Yeah, it looks very smooth, but net result from the end of it is just going to be Dragon priority over to Roehamption. Should be free for them. Going to chunk out the mid lane tower, but not get close to destruction just yet, as Jojo just being a nuisance in this top lane, making it so difficult for Refresh. One of the main proponents for Exeter to win their games so far, keeping them out of it, but will get the first bit of real jungle attention from this Hecarim up here.
So not able to make anything happen. Game is dead even right now. Both teams equal gold, equal Drakes. And I may have jinxed it, but that is a Cloud Soul.
As a Cloud Soul. So I suppose the first thing that we need to talk about, one of my favourite things to look at when we have a Cloud or a Hextech Soul, is the rotational value. The champions that go to split push are really hurt when there is a Cloud Soul or a Hextech, because it just means that you can close in on split pushes way easier. And considering that Exeter have won every game so far, and out of all the games we've been able to look into, they have all had split push S champions in the top lane, I think this is primarily going to hurt them stylistically, but at the end of the day, in theory at least, Roehamption should have had the side laner advantage by champion.
Yep, Gwen is a pretty scary side laner if you just leave her alone to do Gwen things. She is immune, and she definitely doesn't make towers immune because they go down pretty quickly to Gwen if she's left alone.
Curiously, we actually have Desk in the jungle going for this Triforce Zinzao, so they're actually going to be able to chunk out towers a little bit more themselves. We had the Bruiser rework itemization on the previous patch, so you'll be seeing a lot less Styrax gauges, a lot more Death Stances, and those kind of items. I don't think any champions in this game, bar Zin, are really going to be showing off those. We'll see something from the Hecarim later, but that won't be until the kind of second, third item point. As actually, I suppose we should mention the fact that Exeter have picked up 4 tiers across the board. So, itemized, they are scaling.
Yep, absolutely. All of those champions do benefit a lot. That was an interesting double Everfrost there. Tim does have the ult here. We'll pop it to get out to safety. Silas just going to steal that one and put it in his pocket for future use. Something else I did see, that is a Triforce on the Xin, and that's something that Desk has been doing recently. Okay. Jojo running down the Jace. Desk is here using the extra damage, and we'll pick up that kill. Another kill for Roehampton, and Refresh honestly getting put down.
Again, losing the flash on the Jace as well. It means that now Hookboy can look over there with the Rakan, pairing that with the Jhin as well. If they ever do get an early rotation off, then this Jace is all but lights out again, and that's the worst thing for you when you're the poke comp.
back. That's the Crescent Guard. Mafia Goat is here, though, and that means Snepex gets the kill. TP here from Savagery, looking to catch out Dano. A little bit overextend. Let's see. He does have Flash. He does dodge away. Really nice movement here. Curtain Call coming down. Can he survive the onslaught? Silas now diving him just a little bit too much, but really well played. I expected him to die much quicker.
Yeah, when you're in the firing line of the Jhin and there is a Silas who gets one free do-over under your tower, there wasn't really a good outplay angle for Dano there. I'd have to land every skill shot and hope that the enemies are missing theirs in the process. So, across the map, we do get the first blood tower, though, by that Ezreal, so they aren't exactly going to be too upset gold-wise. Mafia Goat and Hook Boy having a little bit of support or combat in the river, as this will actually be Zilean, of all people in the game, securing a tower.
Yeah, it's actually really big from Exeter. They do get that advantage there. If your Jace is behind, well, you know, open up mid. Let's see if we can make some more roams happen. Makes the jungle of Roehamption a lot more vulnerable to plays.
While we were talking about how it's really rough to be behind on the poke comp, if you get that first tower mid lane, and you can keep this mid one alive of your own, then you can set up such annoying positions where you can poke over the wall, and it becomes so impossible for this comp of Roehampton to actually get onto you, because your only key diver is the Rakan, engage-wise. Yes, the Xin and the Gwen go in, but they aren't like traditional engagers similar to this Hecarim.
But here they are waiting patiently in the top bush yet again. And another kill onto Refresh as Deskro likely to go down here. Yep, Snapex getting that one. And yeah, Hookboy going back in, maybe a little bit too much. Does manage to survive, dashing back and out and back and out. Savagery taking half his health bar, but, you know, 1-for-1 in the end.
I'm going to summarize the fights so far as just a match of roller skates, because we've seen nothing but clean movement from these players this game. Pretty much everything that you can juke, they are doing all of their own to get away from it. As we now have Dragon spawning in 25 seconds. Take a look at the respawn timer. Desk will be up now, running straight to that objective, but he's only a level 10 Zins out against the level 11 Hecarim with the fully completed Chem Tank. We saw it in that last fight. Thing about this Chem Tank, it got nerfed because of the Akali interactions. What they changed was they made it so with each movement command, you cannot only get a certain amount of stacks. Hecarim, oddly enough, inputs a lot of those while he walks around, so it really isn't a nerf for him. Still very scary, and is a lot of net damage they'll be getting in these fights from it.
Dropping down the Rift Herald as this play starts up, putting out some pressure in the mid as the Drake helps you get that Drake. Bombs going here and there, a lot of damage. Does that Ezreal connect? I actually don't know if it did.
Didn't look like it, as Exeter looking to try and collect their footing, but this is now a susceptible Jhin.
Open that. Now it gives you the engage angle, but Deskro going to have to go into the res here. Refresh, likewise. Snepex getting the first kill onto Hookboy, but Gwen is immune, but not for long, as he gets cut down as well. Now Snepex coming in, going on to Deskro, currently a 2-for-2. Deskro, however, not going to make it anymore. That's another kill for Roehampton. Exeter, even as Exeter looking for another one. Got him a little bit mixed up. Double kill for Snepex. You get the charge off in the mid lane. You get the Drake. That's an ace. That's an advantage.
Really strange fight right there from Roehampton, with a comp that we saw from the first half of that really should be favoured in the straight up team fights, because the Gwen and the Zins out can really mitigate that poke. When you're rushing forward, you could just run through the Jace and the Ezreal and get on top of them before they could do anything to you, because the Crescent Guard and the Hallowed Mist respectively. But we saw near the end of that, as soon as that portal was taken, the fight was lost for Roehampton. A lot of people just funneling through and dying. I think actually 3 consecutive deaths after that portal was taken, so, you know, I guess you could commend Mafia Goat for that one, but I think it was just a bit of a whoopsie in the decision making for Roehampton.
In the end, Exeter comes out with a 3,500 gold lead and an extra Drake, which is nice to have. It's an advantage. 20 minutes into the game, you might be able to leverage that. What is worth saying is that you have a lot of gold on the Hecarim and the Ezreal, and that is where you want it to be.
Yeah, as long as Refresh doesn't end up going down too many times in this side lane, then I think you're pretty golden with where your money is distributed right now. This Jace will come online at the 3 item mark regardless of what point in the game. If we take a look at where that kind of gold gap is, it's a 1,000 over to Jojo in the top lane, And then it is realistically just on the ADC and the jungle that we can see it. Like you were saying there, 2k gold difference, give or take, on both of them. Very good stuff for Exeter in those key roles, but it does mean that they still have the burden of an execution. They have to be getting to these fights and exerting themselves before Roehampton can get involved.
And here's the thing, I mean, you got Xin, you got Jin, that's quite a lot of AD. I mean, it's this death dance I want to talk about. The death dance from SnapX is complete, and this item has been picked everywhere after it got reworked.
Basically now, before it was only blocking the physical damage, now it blocks all types of damage, and possibly a benefit, possibly a negative, it also eats into shields as it starts to decay you from that missing damage. Which means, like we see from SnapX, I believe this will probably be the Fimbulwinter it's paired with, and that means you could start to use those shields in fight and drain them even further, reducing the damage. Very efficient when you have that kind of healing, which Hecarim does have in of themselves. The fact that Zilean can then revive you after and pretty much just mitigate anything. As soon as you get a takedown, though, it's a lot of HP back in your pocket. Very gold efficient if you can actually get those resets from it.
Yeah, looking around, running around. I think they spotted out the Rakan somewhere, but looking in the wrong place for that, I think. Oh no, gets spotted out, but I think he gets the back off. Just about. Just about.
That is the Hecarim ult gone now. Nothing else invested. Will result in losing this top lane tower and giving over even more priority to Exeter on the map, which is all they want for this comp.
Roehampton is around though. Jojo looking for the collapse, had the flank position in the bush now. Needle's going down, Ezreal having to flash over. 1 kill already on him, a topper. Bard Portal being used to Roehampton's advantage, looking for Mafia Goat, flash for flash there. Ignite probably won't kill the Bard. That is
Will
one
and
kill,
Ezreal, that is my question right there. Savagery does have that in pocket. Mafia Goat, barely slinking past. Okay. Getting away with murder on that one, as now, it looks like Exeter want to take this secondary fight, but I don't think they should.
Roehampton going in for a Rakan ult, coming down, flash forward, Charm knocked up, Dano's still alive, but will be picked up by the Jail Force, Jin Force, Gale Force of All Smoke No Pop. Hecarim probably has enough new speed to run out of this. Looking for it though.
They do have the Zilean up, the ultimate is available. I don't know, the Hecarim ult's about to be... It looks like they won't be able to get anything, as this will just be a safe reset from Roehampton. Going to be very pleased of how that went. Burning down the Ezreal, getting some significant summoners. The Hecarim no ghost now, with the Cloud Dragon up in 50. Is going to remove a lot of that threat that has been onto All Smoke No Pop, as we've seen in basically every time they've sat down to do a nice happy curtain call. Rude Horse has come along by and disrupted them. This time, I doubt it will be the case.
Yeah, you definitely have to watch out when you set those curtains up, because you are prone to being dived. But you have a Xin, you have a Silas, you have a Gwen. Hopefully the positioning's there. Gold lead is still in Exeter's favour. There is a Drake coming up shortly, and this is why we see Exeter moving in, getting some preliminary vision to help secure the objective.
Oh, and Jojo has just picked up a Cosmic Drive on the Gwen and teleporting in. It's going to mean that in these kind of fights, provided they don't get bursted out and CC'd down, they are going to be able to stick on top of those carries when they try and escape. Gwen, extremely mobile, the ability to get over walls often. It's going to make them a big nuisance for the Ezreal and the Jace to handle. The rest of the comp is already going to be having this Gwen in their face, as now just extra posturing for pressure.
Battle line's being drawn and a battle line being taken. That is Mafia Go taking a lot of damage. Tempered Fate gonna stun one of them up into stasis. Hookboy did go down now. Timotopper, unfortunately the ult expires! So that is 2 kills for Roehampton, 1 for Exeter, and I think that means they get this strike.
I think this was another instance of Savagery actually getting off a better ult than the original, as we thought that Mafia Goat, by the looks of it, was trying to predict a retreat from the Roehampton squad.
The Everfrost, a really nice buffer, still lands it in. Savagery now knocked against the wall, will pick up that kill. SnapX now in trouble. Silas dashing forward, connects again, and with Jojo, that's a shutdown and a lot of gold into the Silas, meaning that the gold lead is starting to get evened up.
Jace is going to be able to knock down this inhib tower. I say hesitantly, it's going to survive barely. Turn around and get the minions or chase the Jace? Both.
facing the Jace. They chased the Jace, they got the Jace, but tower did go down to the minions in the end, so it's a trade for your life for the tower.
I'm going to call Worth if I'm Jace, provided this Baron doesn't go down, and that is being looked at right here. Teleport instantly coming in, and you don't have your ADC, but in reality, Gwen is your DPS here.
That was a slight extension there, but about enough. Actually follows this one. Now we'll get locked up by the stuns.
What do you do to him? He's just unkillable right here. Savagery. Having an amazing game, and I would say carrying their team to this point. Getting so much done with these stolen ultimates.
Oh no, I'm not sure you wanted that one. Currently, really nice stun. Now in stasis. Ooh.
This
Might
is
actually
really
be
good.
able to get the return kill. That will expire soon, and just getting the kill. I have no idea. That was right on the point of that all expiring, but in the end, Savagery does die. Onslaught of Shadows hitting two in fear. Jojo feared up, now engaged on by Refresh. Refresh going down to the ultimate of the Jhin. Traded.
Very happy to trade, even if you're losing Baron buffs on the side of Roehampton. The Exeter are going to be pleased with that. Obviously, you're not happy you lost it in the first place, but now you have numbers advantage. You have Zillion ult in about 20 seconds. What are you going to get done on the map? It looks like they aren't going to contest for an inhib. It's just going to be retreating into the enemy jungle, fixing the waves, and just trying to waste as much of this Baron duration as possible.
Game state is so even right now. The gold leads are dead even. You do have the Baron on Roehampton, but both teams have 2 Drakes. As long as you put up defense against this Baron, make sure Roehampton don't get too much out of it, you're Gucci.
And that's the thing, you are a poke comp at the end of the day, so you really do want to be making sure that the enemy can't siege you up, because that is when you're at your weakest. Your only engage tool is realistically Hecarim. Bard is too conditional. You can't just throw down a long range ultimate and expect to get stuff done. That needs to either be miraculous or perfect execution from Mafia.
Absolutely. Mafia has had some really, really nice stuns this game, and I have just noticed that that is a fleet footwork on Bard. I don't know if I'm missing something, but that's not very normal, as Snepex not expecting the bush there, having to burn the ultimate. That's a very big cooldown if Roehampton were looking to siege.
I came aware that Bard just takes what they need, and I think they need help right here.
Ooh. Not gonna get it just yet. Mafia Goat is gonna go down. Turret 2, Jojo going on to refresh here. I think the Gwen wins these. Needle's doing a little bit too much damage here, dashing over the wall.
Nobody told to attack though. They won't get the reset and they're left alone. Savagery not going to get stunned up on the tower, most importantly. Baron still got a minute left. What can they get done from Roehampton? They have numbers advantage exponentially here.
Good boy really looking for him, managing to dash out of that one. Jojo 1v2 in the top lane actually probably wins this with the percent damage that Gwen has access to. So respect being paid in the end. Roehampton does get a 1k lead off the back of the Baron, but honestly, not too much.
The base remains closed. Exeter still have that at very least. It means while there aren't critical objectives like an Elder or a Baron on the map, worst case scenario, you can always run back, hide, and just wave clear. You have an Ezreal, you have a Jace, and a Zillion. So you could safely deny pretty much any attempt to try and break these turrets, which means that in worst case scenario, you don't lose the game off of a bad fight 9 out of 10 times. So, just going to be a matter of trying to set up vision now with Mafia Goat and Snipex as the front line, looking for anything and then going for picks, because when you are pushed back as the poke comp, the real resource of the game is just stance. It's just about how much of the map you control, and that is the real resource that right now Roehampton have in spades.
Absolutely, you can see right now that it is basically darkness for Exeter in this bot jungle. They have very little vision here, having to walk into this jungle. There's traps from the Jhin, there's wards here and there. You don't know what's going on. It's really risky to face check, and Jace is face checking the Gwen, and that means the Jace is dead.
Yeah, Refresh having not a great game, being focused out by Roehampton and continuing to just fall behind in this side lane. The upgraded Maw is not going to do work for you, as Jojo, the teleport, but without the ultimate or the ghost, this Gwen is going to be much better off pushing the side lane and just drawing pressure that way.
Boy spotted out by the sweeper. Currently, you are one member up on Roehamption, so probably advantageous to be taking the fight, but the member is in top lane, does have the TP available.
Ezreal getting the red buff. It's going to be important for the poke, but this mid priority is over to the side of Roehampton. As soon as Ezreal shows on this wave, I imagine that dragon is getting aggroed. As there we go, on cue. Jojo, with that pressure in the top side, is really putting a spanner in the works of Exeter. Poke comps need to get to objectives first, and they struggle when they are split up. They work best as a team, and they work best slowly. When you're against the Gwen, when you're against the Silas, you don't get that luxury.
And this just shows great preparation from Roehampton to realize, well, they need to set up. We're going to take all the vision away in this bot side jungle, make it so they can't face check and can't get a setup for this objective. If we secure it, we get the soul point. Yes, it's a cloud, but it's an advantage nonetheless.
It's just making its way over towards that Elder, because I don't think the Cloud Soul is going to be the win con for them. I don't imagine outside of... I say that, there are pretty good users for the team, but it's still not a win con in of itself. Realistically, you want to be putting Exeter in a position where they have to decide between the Baron and the Elder, walk out of their base, and then take the fight in front of either objective. Because you do not want to be getting poked down while taking a Baron, while contesting an Elder. You just want to look for the initial fight.
The initial fight they will get onto the Rakan, and be a hit boy taken down. Onslaught of Shadows fearing away. Deskaro looking for the kill. The tenacity of this Hecarim is a little bit too much. Having to pop the Zhonya's here to survive for the time being, but that's not quite enough as Refresh gets the shutdown.
It's Baron up right now. It has literally just spawned in front of them. Jungler dying in front of a newly spawned Baron is definitely on some of the worst events to happen in the game list. Your Jhin has no ult, they cannot steal. Your Silas has no ult, they cannot do anything.
Savagery's probably just dead here. Just gonna get Bassist. Dano picking up that kill, but it is worth noting Jojo is splitting in the bot side. Might get to get an inhib.
Can't really stall the base as Jhin does not have that safety as the Ezreal. So it's only going to be the inhib tower lost, but that will be the base opened up. Like you say, Jojo has broken the wall down. So now, if we ever see Exeter playing towards that top side, there is always the angle for Jojo to potentially fish for an end. We saw last game, it came down to 2 rushes into the enemy bases. Jin's alone, there's a Hecarim flanking.
Snipex has the angle, and it all comes together with the True Shot Barrage. More smoke, no pop, now dead. 2 members down for the time being. Exeter looking to siege in mid lane.
Exeter could just end the game off of this push right here. If they get one more kill, I think they're going to do it.
Catches the fear onto Hook Boy, not able to get out. Flash a little too late. Downer 40 going to get that one. And that could just be the game.
It needs to be a miracle from Savagery right here. They have the ultimates to steal. The material is there. But Jojo is going to get cancelled by the Zillion.
It's cancelled by Zillion! That's massive for Exeter. Crescent Guard buying some time, but Jojo can't make it here. He can't base right now. It's a 2v4 against Baron, and it's just too much. Exeter getting the game in style and remaining undefeated in the standings.
It was that flank in the mid lane catching out the Jhin. Both summoners still available, just not expecting the Hecarim from that angle, and before they could get anywhere, they were gone. It was too late. Wow, considering we're looking at that whole game and saying, Roehampton looked to be favoured. They seem to have been able to shake off whatever was in their funk last game and holding them back. Hot damn, Exeter with the, I'm going to say, just reversal by the end of that one.
Just realizing that there's a few people just slightly out of position. A massive angle from StepX there, somehow getting the flank, Zillion in the mid lane, pushing the Jhin back. And it just all came together at one point. I mean, honestly, this Hecarim was played to perfection in my eyes.
Absolutely. I would say that the thing is, when you have a poke comp, the thing that they most commonly lack is an engage tool, because you can poke down your enemy as much as you want, but if you cannot follow up on that and actually get kills reliably, worthless. And I think now we've got a little bit of a sneak peek on camera to why we've had 4 games of Zillion right now from Tim in the mid lane. Might have been 5, but we don't have that confirmed for the previous one. So this duo of Zillion plus Hecarim or Zillion plus Gwen is something that we thought Roehampton had an answer for. And by the end of the game, well, you could say yes or no, but Exeter still take the game. They still get the win, and this strategy remains undefeated.
Maybe not enough due diligence given to Exeter here, but props to both teams. Very well played by both. Definitely a tight series, as with the last one. Gold leads, for the most part, were even for the whole game. It was just towards the end, Roehampton having a slight advantage, but a few blunders here and there, which Exeter capitalised on, managed to give Exeter the game at the end of the day.
And to quickly catch everybody up in the standings for the round 5, we had Surrey Stags versus DMU, and DMU was able to take that one, bouncing back, as we had LSE against ICL Lions. LSE took that one. We saw them lose in the first game. Bristol Mandem actually beat the Comrades Kids, who just went on and beat Roehampton in their previous matchup. Then, obviously, we just saw DSX beat Roehampton. Bristol Warriors losing over to Imperial Apes, having an undefeated day for them. Well done. And Grey Warwick finally beats UOMT1. That is our standings rounded up for this one.
A lot of shifts in the standings here and there that will progress. Obviously, we will have another broadcast next week, which will come in due course. A lot of bangers lined up, and I hope that you will also come back next week with a different set of faces, hopefully. But that is it for us tonight. And as usual, we'd love to thank our amazing production team and our Geomancy and Charlie for providing everything that we need to have the broadcast running smoothly.
Absolutely, and I feel like we had some pretty good games to kick off the first day of the split. Good stuff so far, starting to show the power level of some of these teams, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
We've got competition. Seeing that Roehampton coming into today, it was able to get beaten by the bottom place team in our bracket so far for Varsity, shows that we've got a lot of wide skill, and anything can end up happening with Exeter taking themselves to 5-0 as the real big dogs of Varsity so far. Gonna need to keep our eyes on how that develops. Any final words from you, my friend?
Seeing if Exeter can keep their spot as the kings. Let's see who can take them down in future series. But just, you have to remember that this is all provided, this competitive league, it is all provided by our amazing sponsors, Intel 12th Generation, with their CPUs, and of course, Twitch Student. But outside of that, that's it from me. Just, stay safe out there and stay healthy.